All right. Hi, everyone. Minimize this. How's everyone doing today? Ooh, I've got to turn this down because that is what I'm going to be watching y'all on is my phone. So, hi. It's been a little while. Gosh, where do I begin? Oh, hey Glenn, how's it going? Round 2 at gaming. Welcome. I see Imperial out there. Hi, Imperial. I am set up finally, so this is great. Hopefully the fans aren't too loud. It's just going to be kind of warm in this room, so it's cooling off though here. You know, I mean we're getting into the fall season, but you know, here in Texas it's normally pretty warm. We only had one triple-digit day this year, which is crazy. I know I'm talking about weather, but I don't know, maybe it's a dad thing. I don't know what to tell you. We're probably going to have a pretty cold winter. But, anyway, welcome. Thank you for so many followers. Holy smokes. Hi there. Red, how's it going? Welcome. Wow. Alright, so we're going to have some fun today. I have not done an official live stream, like, at least, especially like this in so long. But I really wanted a world build. And today, in particular, is very special because I am actually kicking off one of my baby projects, a project that's very near and dear to my heart. So most of you know that we have other settings in Smunchy Games, you know, like Naltulth and Parslings and all of these things that I care about deeply. My world baby from Smunchy Games is Path's World of Adia, and y'all know that. So I had created that many years ago. I was a child when I actually made that, when it first started. And very young child, too. I was probably 9, 10 years old. And then it just built on from there, and I built it up with my wife and my brother-in-law. Now what you're about to witness, so Sohn Wander is my dark fiction baby. So this is something that is going to have tons of world building and lore poured into it. You know, I've been thinking about this world for a long time. So this is probably more when I was in my, I guess, late teens when I started building this. So that's what I guess I'm going to date myself. 2005, 2004. So Sohn Wander's been around actually for a long time, but it has only been recently where I really gave it some color. So, as you can see here, so I should introduce this real quick. Most of you know me for my Google Docs. Like, this is just what I work in for our team, you know, so everyone on the team can access this and edit it and so on and so forth. I also use another tool called Mural, and Mural is a collaborative type of like design thinking tool, mostly meant for UX, but UX and like product building. That's kind of what this is it's a product, so I'm building it, but I'm actually using it with world building, which is really interesting. There are other cool world builder tools out there, but the great part about Mural is I can actually share this entire link out to anyone I want. And they can come in and start messing around with it as a guest if they want, if I give them that permission. I can also do collaborative world building, which is really cool, through Mural, and collaborative designs in general. So I love Mural. It's probably one of my favorite tools out there to date, just because I can pretty much pull in and do anything I need to with this tool. I can even set timers for brainstorming thinking sessions. And no, this is not sponsored by Mural by any means. I'm just letting y'all know it's one of my favorite. You can even vote on things, pull in images. As you can see, I started making a mural board just so y'all could kind of get a feel of the world and what it's like, and just kind of where I'm aiming today. So there's so much in Mural that this thing does. There's even iconography, right? So I can go and pull in any icon. I can search for any icon. I can search for any layout, anything that I need here to do special thinking sessions. There's content libraries, images, you name it. So shapes, arrows, it's awesome. Sticky notes. So that is neat. Is it free or subbed? They do, I think they do have a free version, which you get like 1 or 2 boards. I pay for mine, so mine is like, it's actually pretty expensive because a lot of like major software companies use it. I think it's about 150 to 300 a year, which I guess maybe for some that may not be that bad, really, now that I think about it, for the version I have. But then there's like an enterprise version where you can do a bunch of other things too. So Miro. Oh, Miro's another one. So Miro is another tool that you can also use that does that as well. I've switched from Miro to Mural. So this is another one that you can also use is Miro. But the problem with Miro is it's great for like brainstorming specifically, but it's not great for like in doing product stuff. But when I want to like do a mood board, I'm just going to show you this. This is why I love this tool. I'm going to type in, let's see, because I actually need to pull this in, Coltiris. Okay, I typed in Coltiris and I get all these images just populated in. And I want a mood board because I'm world building, so I need to pull things in fast. And this goes out and scrapes the entire interwebs, and I can pull in, you know, other images if it decided to work for me right now. I've been having problems with it. It's probably not the best example because it just failed on me. But like, what is this? Coltiris. Yeah, here we go. So see, I just pulled this image in, boom, done. And now it's in there, and now I have it a part of my mood board. So as you can see, there's like this squid monster thing. There's a ship. It's got this old feel to it. I've been able to pull in all these other Plague Doctor things I want it to feel like. And in Sun Wonder, they're called Rot Doctors because of rot spawns. But I really wanted to showcase like this little girl giving a flower to, you know, one of the Rot Doctors here. Or what it would be like in the situation you did end up in a really bad area as a Rot Doctor, what's around you, or magic that you can use. Even just looking at like, okay, cool, let's look at Mask here, and how they can pull them down, and all those fun things. What's the purpose? You know, a lot of skull and bone there. But even things like familiars and pets, right? And like things that you can use, or trinkets or special items, right? So I really wanted that feel, and this is why I love Mural, because then all of a sudden I can just slap these images in, search them, slap them in, and then right here I can just start building out. And look, this is a massive canvas, so I can just expand and all those fun things. But yeah, so right now, and this is gonna fill up pretty quick. I think this is actually another good example of what I'm looking for. What's the name of that place called? Gosh dang it. That's it right there. What is that thing called? Let's make it bigger. Forgot the name of the zone. Oh well. I'm definitely pulling some things from Warcraft for this, but actually very recent Warcraft things. There's a place that they created that I thought was brilliant, and I never expected that out of WoW, to be honest with you. I only played a little bit of it, so just so y'all know, like, I don't really play WoW much anymore, or any of those things, but I mean, I was always there for world building and stories anyway, outside of like competitive stuff. But they had a place on Kulturas that really got my attention. It caught it so hard. Yeah, see, like you have there's some really neat designs out there, but gosh dang it, what was the name of that place? And we're kind of just jumping into it. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Drustvar. That's what it was. Man, that was a brilliant design on their part, especially for dark fiction. And I have a type of people that we'll talk about later, called the Telltale. and the Telltale are kind of a lot like Kultirans in a way. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. That's what I want. They have a lot of neat concepts for this, but the Kultiran are a lot like the Telltale and vice versa. So I really wanted to highlight some of these things just so y'all know what type of like world you're really stepping into right now. Oh, that's perfect too. And actually, what I'll do, just for those of you that are like commercially creating your stuff, I love to use this board that I'm currently making right now for us to world build in. I love showing this to the artists, like my art team, right? And they'll look at this board and they'll be like, oh, I have a really good feel now of what I want to do, right? So I'll give them a brief, and then I'll give them all this stuff, and they're like, damn, this is cool. So, anywhoozin, I just need to make a note of Drustvar, because I'm gonna forget it. I always forget that name. Put that here. I love pulling from that inspired piece. Let's see. Oh, wow, there's a bunch of stuff in chat. Let me get back to that here. Never could get into MMOs. Totally understand. But I've always enjoyed the idea, sort of. On the fly, group role-playing. Yep, absolutely. World building, yep, exactly. Smunch, how are you? I'm good. I don't know if you're asking, like, everything in general, but mostly things are pretty great, overall. My health is progressing, which is great. I got a CPAP machine, by the way. For those of you who don't know what that is it's a machine that blows air into your mouth when, or your mouth and nose to open up the airways when you sleep. And man, it's made a world of difference. Like, the first week was really rough because there's like some side effects. Like, there's some shortness of breath, and there is also like you feel lightheaded a lot because of the air that's blowing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't do all that, so I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can in a sciencey way. But the air apparently goes in, and then it kind of hits your upper cavity here. So it imbalances your ear. There's a lot of like you feel almost like what's the word for it? Gosh dang it! All of a sudden I just it's gone. It's when you don't like vertigo. It kind of feels like vertigo. So that's gone away, which is great. I don't get that much anymore, but what it also does is it helps your blood pressure too. And apparently. So I keep on looking at my little dial, my little machine, like there's a little screen on it with a little dial, and I'm regularly getting about 7 to 8 hours of sleep now every night, like actual sleep. So in that test, what came back, because apparently you have events, and what the events are the events where you just stop breathing. And I know that's not what we were here to talk about today, but you asked how I was, so I'm letting you know. The events, you stop breathing, and you kind of gasp for air, you choke, so you don't get a lot of sleep. And from my test, I was actually, for the last 15 years, I've only received about 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night. That's how bad it was, to be honest with you. And I spoke with the doctors, and they were like, yeah, you can get sleep apnea no matter your size. I mean, I'm a big guy, but apparently even when I weighed in far less, and I was in great shape. Like, I was playing football, and I was like benching, 390, 400 pounds, right? Like, I was in perfect shape. I still had sleep apnea then, apparently. I didn't know that. So, it's interesting how that science works, sleep science and health, but it's what has elevated my blood pressure so high now, to the point to where even after losing weight, it still wouldn't have helped. So I would have needed this machine regardless. But yeah, I'm actually getting sleep, which is great. It's amazing, and I feel like a whole different person too. Like, in the mornings, I used to be really grouchy and fatigued, but I'm not anymore. So Even my kids are like, Dad, you're different. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Played RuneScape once or twice, but that was about it. Understand that too. No, yeah, no, I mean, it's cool. Like, I'm just glad we got things figured out, right? I'm glad that that's a thing, which is nice. So we're world building the eerily quiet town of Apnea, then. Oh, dude. I'm just gonna write that over here in this note. Town of Apnea. I like that. Ooh, that was a good one. That was juicy. Man, I need like a juicy emote or something. There's a witch. That's actually a good take on the witch that I was thinking of too. Well, this type of witch, because there's many different types, but I don't know what I would consider that type of witch. Oh, that's another good shot. Here we go. Yeah. So the thing with what we're doing here. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. I don't know what it is, but I like it. We're just gonna put this in here because it looks neat. We're essentially, yeah, we're world building a few things. So I kind of wanted to lay some ground rules first with the world. So there's actually foundational rules. So I'm calling them WFRs, World Foundational Rules. And there are very important things here because there's like a whole cosmology. I've actually put in an entire cosmology science behind how this world works, which is normally, y'all know me, I normally do that anyway, but not to this level. Like with Path's World of Adia was the only other world I've gone this deep with, and that's what I was saying. Like this is my dark fiction baby. So I've put so much thought into just how the science works alone of this world, that it affects everything else around it. So, and which again, as those of you who have seen me or watched me, I don't normally do that. I start with a character. And to keep in mind, there's a region that we're building in of Sohn Wander. So Sohn Wander is not just what you see right now on the screen. There's so much more to Sohn Wander. This region, and I'll type it out in just a second, is called Fall Hollow. Fall Hollow? Fall Hollow. Yep. Yay, I got it right. So, we're in the Fall Hollow region, and in Fall Hollow, there is a lot to it. And it is the opposite of actually what I started with for Sohn Wander, which is, we'll go into that in a minute as well, but I kind of want to touch on just that cosmology in those worlds. Just going to put this in here because it looks neat. Hey, our podcast was spoken highly of the rule of cool. You're right, yeah, it's true. That's so true. It is. This is the rule of cool. That's exactly why that's there. That's just, oh, there's another rule of cool. Oh, but the images. Oh, they always do that to me. All right, we'll go back to it. But let me set some WFR, some world foundational rules here. All right, cosmology. So in Sohn Wander, there is a giant worm in outer space. So in space, this worm is so massive that it could probably consume our tiny part of our system, right? But the thing is that it would be an equal size. So I'm gonna just giving you some ratios of how this would work. There's our sun, right? And for them, there is the Sohn star. So the Sohn star is roughly about the size of our sun. So there's that 1-to-1 type of ratio. And there is a worm the size of our sun in space. And instead of just having a moon, right, or other planets involved, let's just say they're there. But in this case, you have the Earth, and then you have the moon, right? And then you have the planets in between, right? So in this case, it would be Earth, Venus, Mercury, and then you have the Sun. So remove Mercury and Venus from that solar system and put in the Sohn star worm. That's how big this creature is. It's massive. Now, like the moon, for us here, now this Sohn Wander has a moon. We'll get to that far later. We're not going to talk about that today. There is a moon, and it has lunar cycles, just like normal. That doesn't change. However, the thing that has changed is there are now solar cycles. So solar cycles, they're very different than the moon in some cases, and you can kind of imagine what happens during solar cycles. That kind of sounds scary already. And the reason for it is because the Sohn star worm is so large that it feeds off of the energy from the Sohn star. And that's what's really important about this. So what you're looking at here is the Sohn star phases. And I kind of just talk about here, the legend says that when the Sohn star worm dies, its body will penetrate the planet, unleashing dangerous creatures and purging the planet from all life. That's their end times legend that they believe. So they believe in their apocalypse, their world will end when the Sohn star worm dies. So the Sohn star worm, you have this cosmology phase here, and you can kind of see that it'll whirl around and coil up and block out parts of the Sohn star, letting in certain amounts of light, right? And we have multiple phases here. So we have the full solar phase, the first solar trench, first solar half, first solar crescent. And then we have a full darkness phase. And that's where things get really bad for Sohn Wander. Solar cycles are cool. Yeah, right. Now, the interesting thing is that full solar phases and full darkness phases, they are more in line of a 1-to-1 ratio in other regions, or other, what did I call it? Regions? Yeah. So, the only difference, though, is in Fall Hollow, this region is not like the others. Where in Sohn Wander, your full solar phase typically is going to kill and destroy a lot of wicked creatures. In fact, there's the other region called Zarask, and Zarask is more of like think of it more as like your deserty region of some type, and it's a lot of like sand, and if you all remember Luke Golain from Diablo, it would be kind of like that. Oh, just gonna put this here. Oh, yeah. So, so if you, I'll pull up Luke Golain real quick, just to give y'all an idea, just so y'all can see it. If you've never seen it, I apparently don't know how to spell, so. Diablo, help me out, Google, help me. There we go. So it's very sandy in Zarask. It's like this. The difference, though, is in Zarask, they have a people, a ancestry of people, or heritage, really, because people technically are the ancestry, humans. They have a type of heritage of people called the Inkletoon. And the Inkletoon, they live in Zarask, where in Fall Hollow, you have the Telltale. And here is where I wrote a little bit about the Telltale. So the Telltale are kind of similar to your Kultirans in Warcraft. And the difference, though, with the Zarask region, and why this is so important to understand this foundational rule of this world, is that the Inkletoon, they turn into something called solar wolves. So when it's a full solar phase, they kind of hulk out and they just shred everything in their path that is essentially wicked. And I'm using the term wicked, not in cool this way, because you all know that I like using that word a lot. But there's something called long shadow spawns, and long shadow spawns, they are created and live in the darkness and the shadows of in Zarask. So especially when it's the full darkness phase, everything's like, you're gonna walk outside and it's gonna be like pitch black. You're gonna maybe see the moon and some stars, but it's jet black for many, many days, almost even a full month at times, right? It just depends on that cycle, right, in that year, and of how that solar the Sohn star phases are going to work. And that's Zarask. So people are used to days kind of like a normal day, like right now. They're used to it being sunny outside, or whatever the case may be, in just a normal day. But then there are the days where they're like, we have to prepare to fight these things, or just basically, in other words, survive. That's really what it is. They have to survive. When the full solar phase hits, that's when they turn into their solar wolves and just they wreck shop. But it's different here in Fall Hollow, and that's why I had to explain that first. So in Fall Hollow, you have sort of a dampening effect. They still have all of these all of these phases, right? All of the Sohn star phases, but the difference for them is it's regularly cloudy overhead. It's usually pretty gloomy out. So like you'll still see days like this image right here. But more often than not, you're going to see a lot of cloudiness or nighttime. You'll rarely see the sky, like the starry sky. You'll see a lot of this. And this is because there is a lot of rot cloud overhead that is flowing through the sky. So those clouds. Oh, what is my phone doing? Those clouds are super important. Just to take note. Sorry, I couldn't see chat for a second. I think we're good. East, always into the east, right? Yep. So that's kind of why I want to lay that down for y'all now, knowing that there are long shadow spawns, but in Fall Hollow there are also rot spawns, and rot spawns are essentially creatures that are in fact terrible. they're actually worse than their counterparts, the long shadow spawns, because at least the long shadow spawns, they'll disappear during the full solar phase. They're gone. The rot spawns, on the other hand, they hang around forever until you kill them or get rid of them somehow. And in fact, it gets to a point to where they will essentially reproduce in some form or fashion. Not your standard reproduction, but it will happen. So you'll see like their babies are still almost full size at that point, which is kind of nuts, but it's very true. I don't know why this keeps on doing this, so I'm going to put this here. Maybe it'll stop. Stop. I just want to talk with people. Oh, jeez. Alright. Well, pull this out. No. Oh, technical difficulties, y'all. I'm sorry. It's really just user error, maybe. That's better. Better saying. But anyway, so that's how rot spawns. They hang around for a long time. And we have a few already that we've kind of built out, which are cool. So like to give you some examples, we have these are long shadow spawns. They're called hauntsmen. And they typically hang around in multiple shadowy areas, but they will actually travel between the solar cycles. So you will find them in places like Zarask, but you're also going to find them in places like Fall Hollow. So they're migratory. They also have haunt hounds, which are actually really cool. So they are the ones that are regularly trying to hunt humans, more or less. They're trying to find you. It's just what they do. And there's more to that. We'll get into that. But then we have rot spawns, right? And we'll have things that do like a lot of mimicry. So we have a creature called a train behemoth. And what it will do is it mimics trains. There's other things like a tavern behemoth. They mimic trains and taverns and other buildings to essentially get a meal. So you may have a moment where you're, in our town of Apnea or Rot's Point, and you're wandering around out there, and you are in your rot doctorness. You got your mask on, you got your little case here. Look at this guy. You got your cane, you got your bag of herbs and special mixes, you got your alchemy stuff in your bag, and you're wandering around and you're picking things out, and you see a group of elite, so higher nobled people that are in these beautifully gowned dresses and tuxedos and suits with their top hats, and they're going off to look at something that they feel is spectacular, something they may have wanted to pay a lot of money for, right? So they're near this train station, but little do they know, as they want to go on this trip, this traveling trip that they want to essentially explore other regions of Fall Hollow because they're bored, they don't realize that the night before, the train behemoth mimicked the train, ate the train, and planted itself on the tracks. So as they're onboarding this train, you as this rot doctor, you're just sitting there watching them like, oh, you don't think much of it. Until, maybe if you're in the game, like a tabletop RPG, someone's going to be like, hey, roll a perception check. And let's say you pass that check. You might notice some gangly arms and hands and legs sticking out from the sidecars that are like buried in the bush. And you're like, oh no, right? So they're boarding this train, and you have to now figure out a way to approach, knowing that this is a train behemoth with people in it, to try and slowly get them out. So this is where you, as your rot doctorness, are going to have to figure out a way to do this, right? And that is, in a nutshell, what it's like in Fall Hollow, in Sohn Wanderer. Now, that's part one. That's part one of my examples here, and that's why this place is incredibly crazy at times. You're going to get stuff like train behemoths. Same with tavern. Tavern behemoths kind of do the same thing, right? They'll show up, they'll eat the tavern keeper, eat the tavern, plant themselves down, and they want a free meal. So they're going to mimic all of the people that would have normally been at the tavern. So you may not know if you're in a real tavern or not sometimes. And you need to look at these little clues because, dude, these mimics are, in this case, these type of mimics are bringing it hardcore. And they can in fact impersonate human voice, human look, everything. They can do everything. So it's very important in Fall Hollow to understand what you're getting yourself into. Now, to be fair, these are rot doctors, right? This is what rot doctors do. We also have rot's hunters. So rot hunters, they are more on the aggressive side, where this rot doctor is looking to collect goods to help heal people from rot, because that's the other thing with the rot can infect you, and it can kind of mess you up to the point to where you become a rot spawn. So that does happen. But that's the rot doctor's job. The rot hunter, they're specifically hunting and collecting trophies at this point. So they are actively looking to fight rot spawns and just purge the plague, more or less, of rot from Fall Hollow. And they are the cleanup crew of Fall Hollow, is how they view themselves. So, horrifyingly epic. Hey, Marine, welcome. Yeah, it is. It makes you start, like, everything in Sohn Wanderer is going to make you second guess yourself. You're constantly going to be going, am I in a real building? To the point to where This is exactly what I wanted to actually talk about today. Um, so defenses. One that I have been working on slowly is building and vehicle routine checks, and how rot doctors and rot hunters can do this. So right now, I've been working on just this one piece of how, when they go into a building or they go into a vehicle of any kind, whether it's a small type of like train or a car or a carriage, or a tavern, or I don't know, a large capital city, because that can be a thing too. That, or a large capital building, that could happen, right? What are the things you look for when you go in, and put yourself in those shoes for a second? When you go into these buildings, what is the first thing you do? That's where I want to start. And we will then evolve that into things like, how can our rot doctors and rot hunters protect cities like this, as well as even just their governments, right? Like, they have very tiny governments. Like, they'll have a mayor, or they'll have some kind of political figure that, because I mean, let's just be honest here. Massive cities aren't going to really be a major thing in Sohn Wander, because it just doesn't make sense. At that point, you're creating a pot of soup if you're going to have a major city, right? You're like, hey, come eat us. We're free. Like, free meal time, So that's not something you want to do. But there are going to be towns, because they still need to survive. And that's kind of the important piece here. Am I even a real boy? I don't know. Sohn Wander is the gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss of TTRPGs. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Make sure the room isn't salivating at my presence. Oh, that's a good one. Let's start there. What are the defenses? All right. What do you look at? What do you check first upon entering a building or vehicle to make sure it's not a mimic? This is going to be a fun conversation. I'm so excited right now. God, thinking about that, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go into anything ever. That's my first thing. I was like, I'm not going to do that. But Marine had a great one. Make sure the room isn't salivating at my presence. Like, people are just drooling. Is that what you mean? Or like, the walls aren't dripping, right? Walls dripping with saliva? People constantly drooling. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, it's great. Hopefully I'm giving y'all some fodder too for your games and worlds, because, man, those are going to be brilliant. We'll make this blue, just so I have something to flow off of. Oh yeah, you can color code things. That's the other really great thing. Now, for the colorblind, I know that makes it difficult. I don't know if they have a colorblind option, and if they don't, I'm going to actually suggest that to them. Because a few of my players and people that I'm close with, they are colorblind, in fact. So, I don't know, what is this? Nope. Okay, figure that one out. That might be unchanged. Thanks, I hate that. Says Marine. Red says both. Both is good. Round 2, it says, is it a complete transformation, or are there common areas that are left unchanged? check the undercarriage. Okay, cool. Vehicles. So, well, maybe it's not vehicle specific, but check the undercarriage. I mean, you're right? Like, and it's not. So there are some things that you're going to be able to see, right? So there's like, you're going to see like legs and arms buried into into the grass. If it's a train, right, into the tracks, you may not see that. You could check the undercarriage, right? That's another way. Are things dripping? That's something you should probably look for. For arms, legs, tails, teeth. Tongues. Yeah, probably should look for that. Tentacles. Body heat. Okay. Body heat. That's a great one, actually. Body heat. Touch the vehicle or building. My wife just sent me something that I need to look at. What's the other thing about being dad? You gotta make sure that you are on point. Wow. Oh, she sent me a picture with makeup. She looked beautiful. That's right, babe. If you're watching, you look amazing. All right, so oh, Payeo is here. Hey, welcome. If y'all don't know who Payeo is, y'all need to go follow him right now. Payeo he's basically one of my lead artists for everything. He works on Paths World of Adia. He works on Naltulth, the Kickstarter that's coming up for Pathfinder 2nd Edition compatibility. He's working on that. He's worked on, God, there's so much that we do. Necromancer 3086, even things like this he'll end up doing later on down the road, right? Like, he's done so much work. Go follow him, for real. Please. Welcome. So, Payeo, we are doing some world building for a dark fiction setting called Sohn right now. Oh, unless they're cold-blooded. Yep. So, these are things that y'all could throw into your campaigns, right? Like, tell the room a joke and see if it responds. Marine says, tell the room a joke and see if it responds. Why the chicken cross the road? Tavern Keeper answers, I don't know why. To get the heck out of here. The whole room shakes. You're not leaving. Jeez. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Yeah, pretty much. Is the best job I had in my life as an illustrator. Yeah, dude. I mean, you do great work. You probably do, in my opinion, some of the best artwork I've ever seen. So, oh, you know what? Okay, hang on. We're gonna switch real quick. I gotta show y'all this. If y'all have not seen the archetype for Naltulth, I promise we'll come back to Sohn because that's a baby. But dear Lord, this is all Payeo's work. So these are the archetype. This is the Crypt Knight that's coming out. This is his work that you're looking at right now. This is going to be an archetype for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And it's amazing. So think of them as a mix of like Death Knights, but not only are there like corpses of humanoids, but of plants as well. This is why like they kind of have these mushrooms, and like they're made of like wood. They have some wood pieces on them too. You see some hands like climbing out of the shield coffin, right? It's awesome. There's some lore that goes with this. I don't want to get us off topic, but oh, I'm so excited. So if you go to Twitter at Smunchy Games, you can see all this. If you go to his Twitter, Peo Illustrado, you'll see that too because I've actually tagged him in all this. It's just so freaking cool. Oh my gosh. I can't wait. And it's October 5th. So like in a week and a half we launch. And maybe I should put that link in here. let me do that. Wow, there's 137 followers. Holy crap, I haven't looked at it in a while. There you go. So go and follow the Kickstarter if y'all play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or you're just like, dude, these things are too cool, I just want them, like, as an art book. I know personally I'd want it as an art book, but yeah. You love the mushroom armor? Yeah, me too. Me too. Marine, he's actually he's one of our basically he's the lead game designer on Naltulth, and he put another thing together for that world that you'll see later, Pio, but yeah, lots of mushrooms. So let's see here. It's very beautiful. It says Finn! Oh my god! Dude, everyone's here today. You guys are gonna make me cry. I'm kind of emotional right now. Finn, I love you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Holy smokes, dude, there's so many of y'all here. What am I gonna do right now? Oh. Okay. Oh, gotta keep it together. Burning pungent incense. Building sneezes. Oh my gosh, dude. That's actually perfect. I'm all over the place today. But that's perfect for this. Like, as a rot doctor, with burning, pungent. I guess anyone could do this, really, right? Not just a rot doctor, but I imagine a rot doctor would be able to make that quickly. Oh my gosh, all of you folks are so amazing. I feel very loved right now. Burning pungent incense. Building sneezes. Wow. Yeah, wow. I love you too, you delicious individual. Y'all made my day for real. Like, everyone in this chat, thank you so much. Don't worry, the train is crying with you. Yeah, well, probably. I mean, if the rot doctor got a hold of the train or found a way to get him out. Additionally, just hyped for everything related to Naltulth and to play it when it's available. Yeah, I know, right? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, like, even just, like, Pieo's work on this deity alone. This is Darkspire. What I actually plan to do, personally, is I'm going to get, an image of Darkspire, and then when we get, there's actually a second deity, so I'm going to be kind of spoiling some things for you just a little bit, because y'all are on the Twitch. You get special things here for being here. There's a second deity that is going to show up that you will see, and they are the counter, really the rival, the villain of the story, and they're Blight Shadow, and their name is Blight Maw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Darkspire and Blight Maw, and I'm going to find a way to get them on a canvas, or print it on a canvas, and then I'm going to frame it and I'm going to put it on my wall, because it's that cool. So, and this thing's just amazing. We actually have, and I know I'm like going from Sohn Wanderer into Naltulth, but Naltulth, there's just so much cool stuff coming out for it. So Pio captured this perfectly when I gave him the art brief. And it was just a very simple brief, and then some lore that I wrote, and even some of the mechanics Marine did. And I was like, alright, I want essentially an ape mixed with an elk, like a gorilla mixed with an elk. But I went into like this great detail of like how they use their antlers and how they run, how they they can go invisible. They like camouflage essentially. But you can also tame them, so they are a tameable, rideable creature companion in Pathfinder for 2nd edition here, and they're harder to tame, but you can do it if you have the feat that you take for it. And there's a player on one of the who's doing some promotion work for us. She's like, she goes, I'm officially becoming a Chirpgower rancher. And I'm like, really? That's amazing. She's like, yes, I'm going to have this snow ranch, this ice ranch on the tundra, and I'm just going to ranch Chirpgowers. And then I told him, I was like, it's funny because the reason why the Chirpgower is called the Chirpgower is because that's the sound it makes. It says Chirpgower. That's how it like roars and just it's great. Anyway, I got way overexcited about that one. But dang, I got excited. Been meaning. Red says been meaning to hop into one of your streams for a while. Glad to support it at any time while I can, mate. Thank you so much, for real. It means a lot to me. It's been kind of strange for me lately. Like now that my CPAP machine has been working for me so well. I used to just be really fatigued and not aware of life, which sounds weird, but over these last 2 weeks, I've been hyper aware of life, and meaning like people I speak with, and outside of course my own family, like my wife and my children, but how much I miss y'all. Like I really miss you. I remember doing streams like this. Like I need to stream more. I just miss talking with y'all. I miss building things with y'all. I miss creating with you. And then like seeing Fen in the chat automatically brought me back to PAX Unplugged. I miss those times. Like there's so much that I need to just do more of in the social sphere than just lock myself away because I'm too exhausted or whatever. So I'm so happy that I get essentially the privilege to be with y'all. So thank you for that. Round 2 it says, or maybe not sneezes, the walls darken. Ooh, oh, okay, gotta write this one down. Here we go. I'll keep the sneeze because that sounds like something Rishlock would use in his stuff. Walls darken. Or start cracking and flaking. Silent Hill vibe? Okay. I could see that. So Sohn Wander has everything. So let's look back at this real quick. Sohn Wander has, and that's why I made this mood board. It has these beautiful, like, eerie type of sunsets when the solar phases do happen and the clouds clear just a little bit. But then it also has, the moments where you're like, oh, well, and it has these too, right? It's very dark, and there's these small precious moments that give you some glimmer of hope. But a lot of the time you're going to see this. There's a lot of death, a lot of rot, a lot of darkness. It's going to be there lurking, right? And that's why it's your job as rot doctor or hunter to help protect the people, but also protect yourself and survive, really, and do good for people, right? And keep these vile things away. So it can get pretty dark. Finn asks, what's the over-under of a one-shot with you and Marine in the future? I'd love to. Asking for a friend. It's me, I'm the friend. I'd love to. Are you talking like one-shot like Pathfinder or like with Naltulth, or one-shot something else? Either way, I'm down for it. I just got to schedule time. That's the other thing I've been doing, so I've been getting better about removing just meetings that I don't need. Moving all those schedules out and trying to make more time for myself. So the best kind of rancher, yeah. Smunch, you missed it. It's a cool ranch. Oh, I need Marine's bell. I want to ring that right now because that is something I'm going to tell my kids later. What do you call a Chirpgower rancher in Naltulth? I don't know what. a cool rancher? They own a cool ranch? Get it? It's cool ranch. Yeah, okay. You're going to be like, Dad, stop! Marine says, okay, but hear me out. Darkspire and Blightmaw, huge and fighting in the upper section of the canvas with warring Necronauts. Says, oh, yeah, in the lower half with magic and arrows along with the flying participants of the war in the middle third. Dude, that's sick. That would be so cool. And you could have it as that, just a massive large canvas. Right now I have the Mandalorian on here, and then I have like John Wick, but I could totally see that right here. Like, oh, that'd be great. Oh, so if y'all don't know what a Necronauts is, think of them as like Warcraft Necropolis, like those Necropolises. They're kind of like that, but both sides have them. So Darkspire and the Darkspire and the Blight Shadow both have them, which is really cool. Fen, best pun, yes. I would drop literally everything to play tabletop RPGs with you as much as you can. PAX EU 2019 will be one of my favorite memories. Yes, absolutely. It was a blast. Like, that Alien game that we played, because we were actually, for those who don't have context, we sat down with a group of friends and played the Alien RPG from Free League. And that was one of the coolest moments because everyone was so in character, and Fen was literally the world of Alien, that it felt almost to the point of being real. And I'm a very imaginative, immersive type of person. So when everyone got into character in that way, and they understood all these foundational rules of, like, world rules, I should say, of Alien, that I felt like I was in the movie. It was so unreal. It was just brilliant. All of those guys were incredible. Yeah, and Maddie came in clutch with the pizza and like dinner. I just it was, oh man, it was one of the best experiences. Anyway, I miss Overture too. I know, we got to spin that back up. Likewise, we'll have to get the gang back together. Musically related Parsling's Adventure. There you go. A lot of maggot mimic monsters. Oh, in Sohn Wonder? Yeah. Really anything, man. Naltulth would be the most current of your work, but anything. Yeah, Naltulth would be fun. It's definitely going to be a trip, like going through this. I don't even know what else. Oh yeah, kobolds. If you like kobolds, you get to play as a Gravehand kobold. They're tiny, cute, and dangerous, and undead. So hey. There's the Crypt Knights again. Oh yeah, we're putting in the Anautarok, so we're updating their roleplay rules. So the Anautarok are going to be a lot of fun too. They also have a deity. Her name is Ayanka. She is they're called she's a war scribe, really, a war scribe deity. And a type of this war scribe deity, which is Ayanka, she's like, I don't want to explain her, man. You want to talk about a new level of BA? That's her. Like, I would follow her anywhere into battle at that point as a deity. I'd be like, yes, please, stick your hounds on those things, because she's got like these fire-looking crazy magic hounds that she has that like walks with her regularly, and she's just like shredding. Anyway, she's amazing. So the Anautarok, that's what you're looking at now, is an ancestry. They worship this deity called Ayanka, and they're a part of war scribe clans. But they don't just speak verbally; they can speak. Oh God, I forgot the word. Visually, essentially, they can visually speak through their magic hands. So they're kind of sacred in that right. Because they use them to speak to Ayanka. So they're able to show visuals and maybe they're telling a story of a ship on the sea, and you'll see the sea in a magic flame with a ship on it, and that's how they'll speak to each other sometimes. So it's a form of visual language, sign language almost, and they can also shoot them into the sky and tell stories that way, which is really cool too. So we're updating those roleplay rules right now, and it's kind of interesting because typically when you look at something like the Anautarok, you think, I have 4 arms and 4 hands, and I'm going to use all of them to do what I want to do. Now, to be fair, the reason why we didn't do that in Pathfinder is because the rules don't really allow us to balance that yet. So we're working on that, which is unlike our Rachnoid, right, in Adia, where the Rachnoid have 4 arms, and you can use all 4 arms. But that's because Jake built the system for it, so it's a little different. But here, the Anatarok, they're really cool. If you're a role play type of person that likes those type of role play characters, this would be your thing for sure. So I can hop in Discord with you and ring it. Oh, there you go. Some of y'all made it out, if I recall. Oh, the Alien game? Yeah, dude, I made it out. I did. I made it out. I was the only one to make it out. I legit wanted to cry when like Scooter was like, "Don't, just go, buddy, go, friend. You know, everything's gonna be fine." And I was like, "No, no, you're coming with me." And it just, and I was like, "Oh," and I could feel it in my soul. And I was like, and even Will afterward, right? Will's like, ha, like he's like, "You should have seen your face." And I was like, I can't take this right now. I cannot mentally digest this. I've yet to play Alien TTRPG, Marine says, and honestly, I think Wayland Yutani would be disappointed in me. Oh, and Maddie absolutely killed the support. Yeah, she sure did, man. If we play Naltulth, I'm bringing Hemlock back as a necromancer. Yeah, there you go. Ontong, yes. Ontong and Fire Talk. Those are going to be the languages for the Anatarok. So they speak Ontong, but then their magic hands they use for signing in visual languages called Fire Talk, which is really cool. We have rules that let you use all four arms. Oh, we do? It's a feat. What, dude? I didn't know this. I just work here, guys. That's what this is. Marine's on it. I'm not. But it does a lot more than just let you use your hands to fight. Yeah, that's cool. That's so much weight. Oh, because the fear corrupts your sacred flame and severs your ties to Ayanka. Yeah, that's also true. Yep, you will sever your ties to the deity. That had so much weight to the moment. Oh, we're talking about Alien and the friendship that those. Yeah, dude, big time. Okay, I'm gonna pull us back to Sohn Wonder. Oh, I just went through a roller coaster of emotion. I felt like that Family Guy episode where he's like, so and so from the Bee Gees. That's how I felt right now. All right. Anyway, so Sohn Wonder. Where am I here? I'm pulling up the Twitch chat, making sure I can still see everything. All right. Going back to Sohn Wonder. This is amazing, by the way, y'all. So right away, just as like a defense mechanism, building in vehicle routine checks, this is going to be a section alone in this world. I'm just going to write about lore on building in vehicle routine checks. And I may have to use a different word than check, because check, well, maybe not. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. This system hasn't fully been, we haven't talked about where this is going to go yet. I'd like to put this on Titanforge, but, I don't know yet. So, maybe, right? Maybe it is an actual check that you make, but this is a thing, right? There'll be an entire section on this. 100% rode that roller coaster with you. Yeah. Oh, man. So, this is like one defense that we can put into this world of Sohn Wonder that these people are going to make, right? Like, can you imagine right now, just take this for a second. You're a rot doctor, and you're walking with a few other rot doctors from your alchemy guild, right? So your alchemist's guild, and you see this little girl, and she's handing you this flower, and that kind of just signifies the hope in the dark world. But then you also now have to remember there are things like children in this world. There are things like puppies and kittens in this world, right? And it's up to you to make sure that you and your fellow rot doctors and hunters purge the rot, right? So you need to make sure that when you go into these buildings, you really do have these routine checks. And I almost feel like, and I don't know about y'all, but like I'm kind of just putting myself in this for a second. Would there be like signs outside of buildings with routine mimic? It's almost like mimic routine check procedures. I almost feel like this would be a thing. I don't know about y'all, but like something in a world like this, they're so used to having rot spawns that they would need something like that, right? Outside saying, "Hey, don't forget, warning, routine procedure checks. Make sure this building is what it is." Right? Or this vehicle. Marine says, can there be a rule that if the party goes a certain amount of days without checking that their vehicle isn't a mimic, it just becomes one? Oh God. I mean, it would more or less the way I see it in the world versus like a GM campaign running a campaign is that in the world that is something that would just more than likely, if you're gonna go that many days, so like go X amount of days without checking if vehicle or building is rot spawn mimic. The rule is just it could be a mimic. Time to check. Right? And if you forget about it, like more than likely, I mean think about it like today, right? If you don't regularly clean something for like months on end, and depending on your location, you could have like a cockroach or many or rats or mice, right? So it's kind of like the same concept here. It's if you're not regularly routinely checking your stuff, you may not know what's happening. And in the situation where sorry, that muscle there that was pretty tight. Even if you're like, like let's take this to an extreme. Let's say you're sleeping in your bed in your house and you wake up one morning and things seem very different. You may need to check to see if your house is a mimic. Just saying. Right? Hi, Mosetka, welcome. It's so wholesome, thank you. Never expected to see you here. I'm everywhere. Those plague doctors. The pog. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I know. Yep. Yeah, there was actually, if y'all did see the Twitter post that I made, oh, Naltooth. I love Naltooth. So you can follow me at the Smunchy on Twitter. But I made a post about plague doctors, just like, rot doctors, rot hunters. There's a link here that actually talks about what it was really like to be a plague doctor, if you're interested in that sort of thing. And I just thought this image was sick. I was like, wow, I'm going to share that. I know I don't normally do that, but in this case, there was a lot of interesting things on here. And, someday I'd love to see, like, places like World Building Magazine or maybe World Anvil or Campfire or any of those places or Hello Future Me, any of those people like cover this type of stuff would be really, really cool. Like I would pay for that at that point, just to be honest with y'all. So I thought this was neat. Y'all can go check it out. There's a lot of cool plague doctors were hired out of desperation type of things, right? So, and that gives that feel here in Sohn Wander. These are desperate times called for desperate measures. But yeah, go check that out. For sure. Round to it says, Wayne stations for vehicles before they reach... Oh, dude, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Okay, hang on. Wayne stations for vehicles before they reach major population centers. So here's the thing, right? There's no like major cities in Sohn Wander because it would just attract all of the creatures, right? But for them, what is major population? You're looking at 400 to 1,500 people. That would be a major population for them. Could you classify that as a city? Maybe. At least here I'm classifying them all as towns. It's been 134 days since our last mimic. Scratches out number. It's been 0 days since our last mimic, says Red. The Department of Workplace Safety is gonna hate this. Oh, that's so great. I love it so much. Well, I'll have to speak with the artists. I don't know if PA is still watching, but at some point, you know, him and Jonathan, because Jonathan Elliott's also going to be working on this. I don't know if y'all know who Jonathan is. Well, I'll share about that in a minute. Jonathan and Paeo will have to... Maybe we'll have to do a piece where you see a rot doctor with like a clipboard, like flipping it back and forth, and then there's a mimic, and maybe they didn't do their job correctly, and they're in this like old-timey carriage, right? And you see like a tentacle crawling out from underneath the carriage, and some like eyes underneath it that are like glowing, and some like crazy wicked hands. That'd be sick. That would be a great art piece. Round 2 it says, where do these mimics come from? Ah, yes. Alright, so, before I got distracted, cosmology. So, let's talk about long shadows for a second. So, with the Sohn star solar phases, rot spawns are actually just a evolved version of long shadows. So, what I'm about to read to you is the foundation. So let me read this. Long shadows are formed only within specific stages of the Sohn star solar phases. This is because the light is spread out over the planet, and the Sohn star is lower in the sky. This is also because the Sohn star worm has taken up a majority of the light. From this, the long shadows are formed. Within the long shadows, on the planet, is where the dark creatures brood and spawn. These creatures come in various different shapes, forms, and sizes, but all have one goal, and that is to ultimately feed on any other living creature, plant, or humanoid. So more or less, when the long shadows happen, you're just going to start seeing, after a certain amount of time, things brewing and formulating. It would almost be like soupy, like tar. And you would all of a sudden see a hand or, you know, shoot out from it and like grip onto the grass or whatever's there, the earth, and pull itself out, right? So that's what you're going to end up seeing. For rot spawns, though, these are also long shadows that have become essentially unwelcome guests to the ecosystem. Is probably the best way that I can describe this. They have far lived out their welcome. So rot spawns are an evolved version of long shadow spawns. Instead of living such a short lifespan, like long shadows, through the Sohn star phases, they become more permanent within the region of Fall Hollow. So you'll see like almost like a primordial soup of like a lake, and they're just crawling out of them at this point. There will literally be warning signs everywhere saying, do not go here. We have not yet found a way to remove the ground lake. So you'd actually probably have like ground lake workers who would go out, and all these rot doctors, right? Massive like soup things, and they maybe have this like maybe they have like a barred, I don't know, some kind of like wood stakes in the ground to defend. You have rot hunters as guards, and the rot doctors are like performing experiments in their alchemy labs, right? And there's buildings and other things around, and you're just having these constant rot spawns crawl out from this primordial soup, more or less, and them having to take them out or do experiments on them just to see how they can remove that lake. right? Which I should probably, you know, as I'm explaining this, Lake of Rot spawns. I'll know what that means. But that's really what that is. That's an ugly looking yellow. We need to make that better. There we go. And then you said, do they naturally turn into other things like trees or hillsides, but they've adapted to humans? Yes. So, they can turn into trees, they can turn into hills, they can turn into rocks, they can turn into anything that is within their natural element, if they're a mimic. Because here's the other thing. There are mimic rot spawns, and then there are non-mimic rot spawns. So there are things that instead use their natural environment. For example, you may have a cloaked cat creature rot spawn, right? Kind of almost like a, what the heck do they call those things from 5e? Displacer beast, right? That's actually a great example. So maybe you have something like a displacer beast, and this displacer beast can be cloaked and teleport around, right? But it's in its environment, right? So something like a displacer beast would fit perfectly like this. Here we go. That's a great piece. Something like that would fit perfectly into Sohn Wander, very easily. So like I said, it just depends on what it is, but not all of them are mimics. So that's something to consider. High prey vibes coming from this. Yeah. Round 2, it continues, or is it objects, a tavern or train that's been infected? That can also happen. So they can infect. So let's put some more. Let's put some rot spawn rules here. So more or less, rot spawns, natural creatures. They can also be mimics that take form of item or thing and then replace it, or they can also infect something that already exists. So there's some more foundational rules for this, right? And let me keep this in the WFR section, and I'll make this, oh, you know what, I'll make it green because of rot. So that's the other thing. Yes, rot in the game is going to be green, or in the world. And that's, I would say that's a pretty pivotal piece that you just asked about, round to it. It's very important. I feel like we have covered it. If not, I'll definitely pass word along to the rest of the staff. Oh, you mean like plague doctors or just things like that? I didn't know if you have or not. That's pretty cool. I'll pass it along regardless. It's an awesome topic, and things like it deserves to be covered more. Yeah, agreed. I would love to see it personally. Like, I'm all for that. Round 2, it says, but if you wanted a major population center, you'd have to be really strict about inspections. Yeah, you would, right? Oops. And it would just take so much time alone, right? Just to get in there. Like traveling somewhere. Think of traveling from town to town. It's going to take you, like, God, forever. So travel. 7 to 14 days to reach the next town. This is due to not just, so I'll put this down here, not just distance, but to prepare. There's so much that you're going to have to do just to go to another town. It's not going to be easy, right? Which would make sense in the world. So you're going to have to look at like your inspections. You're going to have to look at everything that you're doing, all your charts, make sure that you're not dead, basically, just so you can live. Displacer Beast Kitten. Yeah. I would like Rot Spawn to yokai in the shadow of the Sohn Star Worm is a never-ending yokai festival that roams the world on a regular basis. Jeez. A Sohn Star Festival? That sounds cool. That'd be a fun... Yeah, see, this is my backlog over here. Sohn Star Worm Festival. Which would make sense. That's pretty cool. Right? And then they'd have to go through all these rules that we just made of like, let's weigh your vehicle before you come in. Let's look at all of these different inspections first. Right? We're going to the town of Apnea from, what did I call it? Rot's Plight? Gosh dang it. Rot's Point. There you go. Oh, which by the way, I did add plights. So this is more of like a mechanic thing for the future, as more of a thought. But I'm giving people plights to choose from, and just how that'll work. And I'll read through this in a little while, but pretty cool. It reminded me of the inspections and then this Wandering Sohn Star Worm Festival. What are the fake people in a rot spawn tavern like? Tethered to the floor? Yeah, so like imagine... It would depend, right? So in this case, let's talk about rot spawn mimics. Rot spawn mimics. Alright. So, people in buildings could be ... tethered to the floor, tentacles. So basically, let me say it this way, shape-shifting tentacles. Right? You could also have untethered people. This requires a lot of lunar and solar magic from the mimic. So this could drain them, right? So those were the other two pieces that we didn't talk about here as a foundational. I mean, I touched on them, but we're going to go back to it for a second. There's solar magic and there's lunar magic. Lunar magic is a lot harder to come by because of the clouds in Valhalla. However, that's not to say that you can't get solar and lunar magic. It's just there. And it's going to require on a lot of lunar and solar magic for a rot spawn mimic to make someone untethered, because you're essentially having to make them feel very real. And if a mimic is really going that far to do that, then they really want that meal, right? They're desperate. If they're tethered to the floor, they don't really care if you get out or not, right? So, and that just kind of makes sense. Sorry, I suppose you're unaware of what that is. In Japanese folklore, yokai, and basically what... Yeah, no, I know, I do know what yokai is. So spirits that are weaker than deities and terrifying at times, and usually, if you are respectful, they probably won't kill you and eat your soul. Yeah. During the summer and fall, yokai occasionally form festivals where both kind and unkind gather for feasting. Right. No, yeah, and that makes sense. And that's kind of how I would imagine this, but I'd also kind of put my own spin on it in this case, because I don't know if I want to reference this to a real culture. I kind of want to make my own on that one. And in this case, if it's a Wandering Sohn Star Worm Festival, oh, that's a mouthful. I would kind of also put a few other things in there, specifically from the world. So you kind of have some like carnival things, but you would also have some of, I guess, the Western tropes too in there. And then, I don't know, I'll pull something out of my hat for that. But it makes sense. It makes sense why you're asking for that. Because, yeah, right, like in a world like this, you don't want your soul to be eaten. Because that's how they see the Sohn Star worm, is like, it's basically almost like a god at that point. But not like a god, right? It's like a lesser deity. Mm. That's very watery. Oh man. Broken Pixel. Hello. Welcome. It's good to see you. Love from Puerto Rico. That's awesome, dude. How are you doing? I am. I'm doing great today. Especially today. A lot of great sleep. Legs aren't swelling. No more side effects. Feeling good. Talking with everyone. Making some magic happen in world building. So. Oh yeah, this just reminded me of that. Says Marine. Yeah, no, that's cool. I like that a lot. Like it makes sense. You know. I don't know what this thing is, but I like it so much. It's just like what, but also happy. I don't know. That's weird. This reminds me of a happy expression. But again, I guess that's maybe what makes me a very unique individual. So yeah, this would actually be a good example too. Like you could kind of have like a creature freestanding like this, or like it would be like a mimic where it's like blended in to, or it is the mountain, right? There's just a ship. This ship's mine now. But then, oh, we didn't get to the best part. Rot spawns eat other rot spawns. Oh yeah, let's talk about that. So remember how I was saying there's like a whole ecological thing to this? If this... now, they prefer humans, right? Don't get me wrong. They do prefer. If they can get a human meal, it's like eating cake every single day without gaining weight. And that'd be amazing, right? And without gaining diabetes, which is even better. So, that type of cake, right? Like, yeah, of course, why aren't you going to eat that? But in their case, they will, however, every once in a while have a carrot or, you know, some kind of leek or vegetable that they really enjoy. And in this particular, and I'm going to paint this one for you, the rot spawn mimic could be this mountain where another rot spawn mimic is the ship. And the rot spawn mimic may have humans inside of it and in the ship. And maybe they notice it and like head off. Will they go for the humans always? Sometimes not, sometimes yes. In this case, if they need that vegetable, they're more or less going to reach its tentacle out and wrap it around that ship and pull it into its maw and the mountain. That will happen. So, I'm using cake and vegetables, but eating your veg versus cake. Side note, humans are cake. Oi. Oh, I wasn't asking for the festivals, I was just saying that it reminded... Oh, okay, gotcha. Real cultures feel like a... Yeah. Yeah, it being detached, I agree too. Right, exactly. But yeah, how are you doing, Broken Pixel? I am doing great though overall. Oh, good. Okay, I have caught up on chat. That's great. All right, so, yes. Whoa, what did I just do? Oh, I just messed with the canvas. All right, let's put that back. So rot spawn mimics. Maybe I need to see this. I knew this board was going to start growing. So put this here. Let's organize this a little bit. There we go. There we go. Welcome to the town of Apnea. Welcome to the sleepy town of Apnea. Where rest is unheard of here. That's terrifying. Alright. But yeah, so like I said, there's veg and cake. And humans are cake, other rot spawns are veg. That does happen. There is an ecosystem to that. There's habitats, everything, right? So when we're looking at all these details, and right now we're just talking about building in vehicle routine checks, right? We haven't even dug into defenses from non-mimic rot spawns. We haven't even talked about that yet. Like, like our displacer beast, right? So let me pull that up. So rot spawn mimics. I want to add a little picture here just to give us some visual. Hopefully this works again, so I can mimic. Perfect. Mimic. Meh. And then you're gonna also have rot spawn non-mimics, and you may have something like a displacer beast. Oops. Displacer beast. There we go. Is that one that I was almost plant? There it is. Boom. All right. So then you're gonna have creatures like this, right? Always have to be like shadowy in color. They just, or shadowy in feel even. They just need to have this non-mimic look to them, right? I always joke about mimic boots in Adia, but mimic boots in Sohn Wander would be even worse. I just thought about that. Roundtooth says apnea where the buildings don't breathe. Thank you very much. Gosh dang. Where the buildings don't breathe. Oh god. Lake of Rot spawns. Yeah, so you would see things like this crawling out of that lake, or things like this crawling out of that lake. But they could be many other things too. Like I don't know, like let's do maybe like a psychopomp. I don't know. Psychopomp. I don't know. That's an interesting image. That's not what I see when I see Psychopomp, but that's a good one. That's kind of what I see. I still see more of that raveny looking thing. What are the other good like dark fiction creatures here? Or just creatures in general that would have that vibe? Draugr. But see, the problem is that with something like the Draugr... Really? Am I just misspelling Draugr? Like, this is... Gosh dang. Draugr? Draugr. No, I got it right. Do they not have Draugr? That's interesting. Draugr. Oh, that's because I'm looking in frameworks. Yeah! Draugr. There we go. Oh wait, there we go. That is much better. That feels better. So, Draugr. So the thing is that we should also talk about the rot. So, rot infections. Rot infections suck. If you find yourself in a pool of rot, so let's start there. How can you get infected by rot? Bit by rot spawn. Clawed by a rot spawn. Swim in a lake of rot. Any of these things could infect you. Loud Atlas, welcome. It's good to see you here. What are these rot spawn for? These rot spawn are for Sohn Wander. We're talking about how rot spawns work. We're talking about the defenses and defense mechanisms that humans need in Sohn Wander from rot. We actually started with checks for rot spawns, and just, you know, specifically rot spawn mimics, and how you could tell if one is a mimic or not. Suggestions were such as walls dripping with saliva, people constantly drooling, body heat check under the carriage for arms, teeth, claws, tentacles, etc. My daughter just messaged me. Hang on, y'all. Oh, she wants to give me banana bread. Yeah, I want banana bread. Let's see if this loads. Yes, please load. Alright. So, that's kind of what where we started, talking about like weighing stations for rot spawn mimics, you know, making sure you regularly check routine signs. And then we kind of just talked about the different types of rot spawns. So there's like natural creatures, there are mimics that take form of the item or thing and then replace it, and then there are also mimics that can infect something. Rot spawn mimics. And then we just talked about rot spawn mimics in general and like how they eat. Now we have rot spawn non-mimics. So these are just kind of like your standard creatures. And then it trailed off into like this Draugr. So then this is how rot infections become a thing. You know, you can be bit by a rot spawn, clawed by a rot spawn, swim in a lake of rot. There's so many different ways you can do it. You too can become a rot spawn today. But that's why we have our rot doctors, right? So our rot doctors are the ones who are going to purge the rot. Purge the rot. Sounds like a 40K thing. Purge the rot. They're like our space marines that are not as muscly and have 4 stomachs and 2 livers or whatever else they have in them. We'll have rot hunters, of course. Those will be a thing. But our rot doctors are meant to purge the rot. Touched by an angel, clawed by a rot spawn. Says round to it. I don't know if you even need to find tongues and teeth under a carriage. Skin is bad enough. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Like, you're in your carriage, you have your horses hooked up, and, you know, you're, like, grooming them and making sure they're okay and all that. And you just kind of, like, hear a little bit of rattling, like, right, coming from underneath the carriage. And you just, like, look. You're like, oh, no. So you pull out your weapon or whatever it is. Maybe you're like I said, you're a rock doctor alchemist and you have like a potion that can like light the entire thing on fire. So what you do first is you unhook your horses from the carriage, and then you look underneath and you just see like this layer of fur kind of hanging down in almost in layered sections, kind of like long grass almost. But then it's glowing a little bit, and then the skin, because it's kind of sparse, it's not like a thick brush. It's kind of sparse looking fur, and the skin is purple, and it has these like large round black circular patches on it, or rings almost, going around this sparseness of fur. And you just look under, and you look back, and that's the moment you know today probably not going to be a fun day. That would be a heck of a way to start the morning. That's for darn sure. Or afternoon, even. Bye, honey. I'm going to go run an errand. It's like, okay, dear. See you later. Rot spawn mimic. Great. Hopefully your horses do unhook. Oh, yeah. Well, then there's that, too. My daughter come in for a second to deliver me some banana bread. She's a great baker. Such a good job. So proud of her. That was such a visceral image. I hated that. Can be such a good, bad time. Yep, right? Like, you're just like, oh, man. I'm not happy about this. And then, like, you kind of... Could you imagine that? And then you're, like, walking back and to the front of the carriage, and maybe you have, like, some cloth coverings in front, and you kind of just, like, you take your cane, right? So you got your cane here, and you kind of take it. See, that's the thing. In our world, the canes are meant for were meant for poking. Unfortunately, seeing if people were alive or not. That's what plague doctors really did, for real. But in our Sohn Wander world, this is meant for poking at mimics and poking rot spawns. So I'm gonna just write that down because that's brilliant. I need another. We're talking about rot doctors. Rot doctors. Use cane to poke mimics. Poke to check if mimic. But like, can you imagine? So painting this picture again, right? You're back at the front of the carriage. You have the cloth drapes, and you put your cane out, and you have the little hook on the end of your cane, and you kind of move the curtain away, and there's just, you see two small glowing eyes, but all of a sudden, tongue shoots through, and there's just like a teeth that come out. Oh man, that'd be sick. I'd love it. Thank you, dear. Okay, good job. I'm sure it's gonna be great. I would share with the audience, but sorry. Oh, this was really good. Man, this is really good. Sorry, y'all. Hopefully I don't make you hungry, but hopefully I do. Man. That's killer. Alright. We call this, smunch time. Smunching with Smunchy. God. Now I need a graphic for that. Too late, you've made me hungry. Dude. Oh, man, it's so good. Damn. Yeah, we're actually thinking about getting her, some culinary classes. Specifically online to start. But she actually has the vaccine now, which is really cool. So, and she'll be able to do some things in person here soon. But we want to get her some culinary classes because she loves baking. It's like her heartfelt. Oh, baking. We should put baking in this world. Baking. Smells of apples and cinnamon. It's always Halloween here. No. Yeah, so we're gonna get her some of those culinary classes for sure. You got the smunchies? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Smunchitize me, Captain. Alright. Today has been world building with Smunchy. And eating delicious, beautiful banana bread. But yeah, so like poking that, right? Teeth just like open up, tongue shoots out from the curtain, and you're like, oh, you're having to move. Woo! Woo! That would be a woo right there. That'll be a lot of fun. And hopefully y'all will be able to use, again, some of the, so hopefully I'm inspiring some of y'all to do some of these things. What now? I just got a random message. That was weird. What? I'm watching myself on Smunchables. I just realized that. Okay. Well, we'll continue. That was interesting. Cool. Thank you all for the follows on the Kickstarter. Appreciate that, by the way. For Naltulf. But yeah, so rot infections, that's going to be fun. Rot doctors, alright, so we got all this. So, defenses from non-mimic rot spawns. This is where, like, because I wanted to start with the, like, talking of what are the routine checks for mimics. Because that's a pretty dangerous one. The only problem with eating is chewing, and I don't want to chew in y'all's ears, so... But the second one is defenses from non-mimic rot spawns. These types of creatures. So by the infected, the rot infected, right? So let's label this rot infected. Okay, so that can suck. But then you have these non-rot spawn mimics, and they just show up like they're about to, ruin a town and just cause a lot of destruction and death, really, right? We were watching, so something that came up, and I think what put me in the mood, I'll be totally honest with y'all, like this last week has just been like crazy rough for me, with work and everything else happening, right? For just work things. It's not like bad things, by the way. It's not bad at all. It's just really long and like arduous tasks. So my mental capacity was draining, and I just needed a break. And last night was date night for my wife and we sat and watched Attack on Titan. And I've never seen Attack on Titan. I didn't know anything about it, except for Titans show up and attack things, right? These large human creatures. They're basically human creatures. And I got really into that anime. Honestly, I didn't think I would like it, just to be honest with y'all. But, and I said honest twice. Redundancy. Check. I just didn't think I was going to like it, but I got so into it. I think it was after episode 3 or 4. Because episodes 1 and 2, like, it was really slow. I'm like, oh god, yes, okay, Titans show up and crap happens. I'm like, it's like every other thing, right? But then by episode 3, I was like, wait a minute. What is actually happening here? And I got hooked. So now I'm like, oh man, when I get hooked on things and I get excited about something, I get really inspired and I just want to create stuff. And that's what happened. So I started thinking about Sohn Wander, which is not like Attack on Titan, right? Attack on Titan has like all these, they have walls and they have the inner and the outer cities and the rings and all that other stuff. And their kingdoms and all that, like, but the walls are what protect them from these Titans. Come to find out, there's some other spoilers in there that I'm not going to give away, because if you've seen it or haven't seen it, I don't want to give that away. But the most important piece is the Titan piece, which is in the very first episode. They show up and start eating people. And the thing is that there was no wall. There's no walls around these places. And I got really thinking about Sohn Wander, and I was like, they would not have the pure person power to build walls like that. There's just no way, right? And they wouldn't have enough time because they're already in this place where they can only quickly build a home or build a building, right? They don't have enough time or even like an initiative to build, like they're just now experimenting with the lakes, right? These rot lakes. So they're going to try and build up these barriers, and they're going to have like rot hunters out there protecting the rot doctors, and vice versa. Sometimes rot doctors will, kick ass too, but it's like they don't have enough time to do that. And that's where I was really thinking about it. I was like, oh man, this place is terrifying. What defenses do they actually have, right? Pumpkin spice for long shadows. This is round to it. Red says, I'm sure they probably mentioned it in the article you mentioned earlier, but the masks were a sort of gas mask prototype. Oh, that's cool. Spices were often put in the nose. Right, yep, because they thought it helped fend off bad air. Baked good smells would be a nice mask scent. Oh, dude, that's brilliant. Nice mask scent. Which would make sense because rot smells. And you don't want to get sick. Like, that would be a thing, for sure. You don't want to feel sick. There's muffins in the nose of the rot doctor masks. Muffins? Question mark? That's pretty great. Oh boy, don't get too attached to characters in Titan. Yeah, I won't be. I'm trying not to be. I honestly, I would say probably my favorite character is the main one. Is Aaron? Aaron? Yeah. I think that's his name. Aaron Yeager. He's my favorite, for sure. Marine says, yeah, SNK is not what I would choose to watch to relax. It has an interesting plot, but it's just too depressing for me. Yeah, I totally understand that, right? There's a lot of gloom and no hope. And just like, oh, well, this is a sad thing to watch. For me, it was the storytelling that was incredible. I loved it so much. I was like, wow, Attack on Titan. It's definitely up there and probably my top 5 favorite animes, in period, like ever. That's how high I would rate this personally from the storytelling perspective. That's where my mind goes to, and just world building concepts. Like it's brilliant for what they did. It's clearly very grim, dark, and dark in general. My number 1 is always going to be Trigun, which is like almost an opposite of of Attack on Titan. You instead have like Vash the Stampede, right, and Millie and everyone else. So that's very different, but that's me to a T. Love and peace. Red says claustrophobia would be a real nice trait in a weird way. That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Just because I know it's such a real thing. And that takes it to a whole new level. But you're right, like people would become, you could have claustrophobia. You could easily imagine a society of, oh, you mean in like Attack on Titan, right? That's because I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess it could be a thing. Could easily imagine a society of people who refuse to build structures for fear of them. Oh, but okay, so you are actually. I should have just read further. That's why I was like, yeah, that makes sense because like they're afraid of walls. That's kind of where my mind was going when you said that too. It's like, yeah, they're afraid of walls. They're afraid of being enclosed constantly, right? Like they need other things to build structures for fear of them being mimicked. Walls would easily fall in that category. Yeah, absolutely, right? Constantly building buildings. Yeah. Exactly this. So this is where the Telltale come in, right? Telltale. These are the people of Sohn Fall Hollow and Sohn Wander. And that's when I read that I was like, okay, I see exactly where you're going. Because in that case, if you like when I watched Attack on Titan, like they never really touched on that. Like they talked about wanting, well, I mean, I lie. They wanted, people were like, I want to go see the lakes of fire or whatever, and frozen land, right? Is what Aaron kept on saying in the show. And I was like, how come no one's talking about like this claustrophobia, or is that something they just aren't aware of because it's been their whole life? I don't know. Like I've never lived in a walled city like that, so no idea, right? But in this case, for the Telltale and for the people of Fall Hollow, it totally makes sense. Which is why they wouldn't want to build walls, right, for defense. So that would never happen. Fear of constantly building buildings. So like, how do they stop these non-mimic rot spawns, right? I mean, sure, you got some BA rot hunters and doctors that are like showing up, and they're like, one's wielding a syringe and like a potion in the other hand, and they're just like, it's like this crazy solar version of a Molotov cocktail, and they're like syringing things, or however you want to play your alchemist, your rot doctor. But then you have your rot hunter, which is like, they have like their sword, their flintlock pistol, right? Their flintlock rifle, like, right? You know, that those are great weapons, but like, that's enough for a few people. But to protect the whole town, that is going to make this a lot harder. Um, and sure, you may have militia, I guess. Give me a good picture of a rifle. What was this one? There, that's perfect. And there's magic, you know. Around to it says like pavilions and open wall tents instead of houses. I could see that more, but I mean, well, that's the thing. You still have houses though, right? Like they still exist. Um, but to your point, round to it, in this case, especially when traveling or other towns built in this way, you would still have like buildings that are hundreds of years old, right? So maybe we can say building progress is slowed down. And this all like ties together. These sticky notes makes this T, or this Tetris piece almost. It is considered the number 2 anime technically. Oh, Attack on Titan, really? I didn't know that. I mean I can see why. Yeah. Full Metal Alchemist to Dethroning It. I love FMA. That's another favorite. I think your name was pretty close, at least on the rankings I look at. Which name? Oh, your name got kicked down a bit. Steins Gate is really good. Oh, you mean Attack on Titan? If you like... Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's cool. But this is very true, yeah, about like buildings and the fear of constantly building them. So like you're just gonna see ancient, you know, hundreds of years old buildings. This is so good. Oh, it's so good. Oh man, I'm so lucky. I wish I could share with y'all, and I know she wishes she could share with y'all too. But man, ancient buildings by American standard. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess I always try and take that, you know, European, West Asian look overall. I don't know why my mind goes there, but it just does. So, yeah. Oof, too true. I really wish I could share this, though. My boy. Mm-hmm. 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 If y'all haven't noticed, I really love this design. That. You're gonna see stuff like this wandering around too. Where is... Dude, there was a Pathfinder one that was so freaking cool. Gosh dang it, what... I think it's like a Pathfinder 2E mushroom. I forgot which book it's in though. Leshy. Okay. This one. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. You're going to see a lot of this as well. You're going to see a lot of this in Naltul, too. But you'll see that. You'll also see, you'll definitely not see these cuddlies a whole lot. It's just bad. Like, in Naltul, you're going to see a lot more cuddly things like that. But here, you're not really going to see that. You're going to see, let's go back to Drustvar. There were some really good things in there that we can pull from. There you go. Oh, come on, images. Come on, images! Alright. Let's do this again. No! Ugh. It hates me right now. Pig. Oh, I want the pig, dang it. I want that pig in particular. Okay, we'll come back to images and hopefully it'll love me again later. But anyway, again, point is defense is from these non-mimic rot spawns. I don't know... Like, when we think about it, I guess I could see cannons, right? Like, maybe they have some kind of solar cannon or lunar cannon? Maybe they have... Oh, well, not that type of cannon. They're just taking pictures. Wow, look at that one! That's pretty great. Solar and lunar? Let me put that here. I don't know, they're like magic cannons. So solar, magic... lunar magic, but the other thing that I really want to put in to this is there's the alchemy as well. So you have potion like magic. So alchemy, something along these lines would be really cool. Well, if buildings tend to up and eat people, I could see 100 years being ancient. Okay, well that's good. I mean, then so maybe I'm not too far off that bat. I really like the 5e blights and myconids. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that. Boy, mimicked camera. Oh no! Don't do that. No, that's scary. All right, kids, smile. It's just latched onto your eye or your face. That's terrible. I like the idea of combating bad smells with worse smells. Chemical warfare. Those plague masks would be functional. Yeah, yep. That's right. So, chemical warfare. I don't know, is there like imagery for that? I hope not. It's probably terrible. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna go into that one. We're just gonna make a note. Chemical warfare. There we go. That would make sense, right? Because, like, as I'm imagining, you know, like, let's look at this town again here. Like, look at this view. So, if you're in Fall Hollow, and you have this town, there's like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings, roughly? And they're a small town, a tiny little town. How are they going to keep out creatures like Home Slice here, or this Home Slice here, you know, like this flowing, beautiful dress robe, or these things? How are they going to keep that out? And then how are they going to keep those things out that are infected, right? Like, you would constantly... I guess you would have to have shifts of people, right? Like, just regularly shifting. Bob, can you take my shift at 7? Sorry, Frank. I got dinner with the family. I'll come back at midnight, though. Okay. You know, like that's how it would more than likely go down. Have you watched Parasite? Kind of anime mimics. I don't think I have. Parasite. Well, now it's on my to-watch list. That's cool. That's crazy. This makes me think of Stranger Things. But not Stranger Things. It's now my to-watch list, though. I'm going to make a note of that. Parasite. Oh, they could infect people. Oh, I just realized this. So, as I'm thinking through this, and I just saw that. Rot spawn mimics. So you don't actually... Oh, that's horrible. So you don't actually know if you are rot infected. You could either be undead, technically, or you could be like a rot spawn mimic, like this. Whoa, what did I just click on? Oh, they actually turned into live action. Whoa. So yeah, so you have these arms and blade hand things. Yeah, like that could happen. So if that is the case, ugh. Ugh. All of you need to go and purge the rot now. Please. We need an initiative for this. Marine says, okay, but what about them having an alchemical construct called a rot nurse? It's like a scarecrow for rot spawn that look vaguely like a rot doctor with spokes coming out of its mask. Like a real rot nurse? Because a rot nurse, like, in definition of rot doctor, or in conjunction to rot doctor, they would be like rot nurse. So it'd be like plague nurse. At least in the naming conventions today, right? Oh, that's so fluffy. I have the doctor on my thing, but like when you say rot nurse, I think of rot nurse. I don't think of alchemical spawn. So I'd have to call. I guess I'd have to call that something else. But I do like the concept of the scarecrow. I think that's really cool. Let's write that down. It sounds like a creature. Is this a creature? Did I read that right? Oh no, like it's an oh, so it's like it's not a creature. Is it inanimate? Like a scarecrow? Like a real like? Why did I just copy this thing? There we go. Let's write that down for a second. Scarecrow. Oh, scarecrow for rot spawn. Okay. I'm reading this right now. Looks vaguely like a rot doctor with spoke coming out of its mask. Okay, that's brilliant. That's really neat. For rot's spawn. There we go. Call it like a something. But yeah, I just don't want to take the term rot nurse in the case like someone ever wanted to use it for any reason. Just because of its pairing with rot doctor. Oh, but you're saying that this would be a defense. That's what you're saying. I'm slow in chat, sorry. So this would be okay, we're getting somewhere. So oh, I guess I didn't really need to move that. There we go. Actually, let's do this just to make it more detailed for me when I have to write. Non-mimic rot spawn defense. Actually, I guess it would just be called rot spawn defense, really, is what this is. And then I'd have to like go into detail later. I'm kind of just planning this out in my head as I'm as I'm writing this. A rolling initiative, you say? It can stand guard and keep most weaker rot spawn away. That's really cool. I like that a lot. It can stand guard. I love that. And I can see it now. Like, I can see them talking, and and they're like, "Hey, hey, Joe. Yeah, put this out front near the cannons, or put this in the field or something, or put this in the middle of town." Okay. Smoke. 21 signs you've been turned into a mimic. That sounds like a blog article that they'd be reading. I mean, they don't have that level of technology, but they're like reading through. Huh. Hear about this one, Susan? That's great. We should try that. Rot doctor was the term regardless of gender. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right, Marine. And that's why I did that on purpose. So rot doctor is regardless of gender, but in the case someone who wanted to use the name rot nurse, I just wanted to reserve it. Is all for them. So just thinking of that, I guess that experience, like, you know, some people like that. Be a tool that works as an assistant. Yeah, we'll definitely have to find a different name for it. But I do really love the concept, which I think is great. One, cold sweats. 2, voracious appetite. 3, no memory. 4, night owl. Yeah, it's a construct, basically a statue that looks like a rot doctor to scare away mimics. Yeah, I love that. Red. I could also see people in a setting like this really latching onto myths, like the Caladriel. That plague nurse picture with the white bird reminded me of that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. Where'd they go? It's somewhere. Oh, here. Yeah. Right. And that's another reason why I wanted to like leave that open, because I didn't know. It's one of those things where I'm trying to give freedom overall. So if I'm like, when I look at the taxonomy, so let's do that. That's actually an interesting world building discussion. Sohn Wander taxonomy. So when I'm naming things, oh, I gotta put parasite somewhere. There. So when I'm naming things, we'll have rot doctor, oops, rot hunter, and that's regardless of gender, right? No matter whatever and whomever they are, in this situation. But then you also have spawn. So when I remove rot, this is the taxonomy I'm kind of keeping. So you have doctors, hunters, and spawns, and more or less in conjunction, you would have ranger, creature, nurse, You could have assistant. Not assistants, but you could have assistants too. You'd have assistant. And then would be another name here. So you have like hunter, ranger, tracker, right? You can kind of see how I'm doing this. You could even say warrior. Creature, monstrosity. Behemoth. Right. So some of the I'm just the only reason why I'm sharing this with y'all is this is just actually a part of my process and what I do whenever I world build. I will always take naming conventions into consideration, and then when I do the naming conventions, I will look in these different subsections or sections of each word type, and this is just the thing I've done in UX in the past too. In any form of design, really. Taxonomy is always critical in all forms of design. And to be fair, I do this in my head fairly quickly now because I've been doing this for like 14 years. Which is a long damn time. Professionally, I've been doing this for 14 years. So it's not just a... why is this attached to that? So I just naturally, quickly map out the taxonomy in my head. Like, I already know where it's at. But it's good, as I'm world building, I'm now learning that, as we're talking about this, I need to share this with people. So you can kind of see... Now, that's not to say, like, you couldn't do, or you couldn't, you could not have, which is totally fine if you do have it, like a named thing, where it's like, I always separate names from the taxonomy. So you could have something like Carl's Rotspawn. You could also have, like if we really wanted to use the name Rotners for that particular type of like scarecrow statue thing, we would call it, I don't know, Frank's Plague, or not Plague Nurse, Rotners, right? You could also call it, the Spiky Rotners, which then what people do, humans like us, now in real life, we end up then taking this and we start acronyming it. We put it into an acronym, the SRN. Hey, can you hand me the SRN? Yeah, sure, why not? Here, let me go get it. People know automatically what you mean. So when you start talking about these things, people will be like, "Oh, cool. Did you see the new Frank's Rotners launch or whatever?" It's just weird. It sounds like they're making a campaign. I'm building a new marketing campaign for Frank's Rotners. Use it in your fields today. Put it in center town. Or the Spiky Rotners, right? So this way someone could go, I could offer it up to someone and say, hey, you know, we have a lot of rot doctors in this world, and maybe someone playing goes, I want to be a rot nurse. It'll be like, okay, cool, this is now where like conversation starts. And when you map conversation, it will be like, it'll start with, I want to play a rot nurse. And then someone would say, like the GM would go, okay, is that like a rot doctor? Because a spiky rot nurse, or the SRN, exists today in the world. And then they would say something like, I am taking inspiration from the SRN, but I want to be this. And then we go to our fancy images. Please work with me, Mural. Plague Nurse. And where was it? She was really cool looking. Will. What am I doing? Where's this mouse going? Alright. Let's use... Oh, that's a little too on the nose for me. We're just going to use this cute one. This. It's like, okay, I want to be this. And the GM's like, great, you can do that. So, like, I don't know, I actually feel like that's an important part of world building, is when you world build, you should map out taxonomy and discussions. Because it's the experience that people are having, right? So, whenever I do naming conventions, or I do names in general, like, these are my base, my foundation, and I just quickly do it in my head. And then I go, okay, cool, what are other things that people would want to call themselves, or other things that people would want to call other things? What would they do, right? So in this case, doctor, nurse, assistant, or you could even, like, you could be really formal, right? Practitioner. I am the rot practitioner. I have come to purge your rot, right? You could totally do that. And then you have hunter, ranger, tracker, warrior. And then you have spawn, creature, monstrosity, behemoth. And these in term and name and taxonomy mean what they mean in the book, but due to human language and like linguistics and how we talk about things, you map it out in this way, and then it actually makes discussions better for games. And this is kind of something I've done with even like Naltulth. Like Naltulth, I'm very specific on words that I use. Same with Adia. I'm like, this is what it's called, but these are the things it can be called, and then I use it in a discussion format. So I actually have something really interesting that I do, excuse me, is I have notebooks and I have boards like Mural filled with just discussion maps like this. I go, what are the millions of things that people could say within a game? And how would they say it and why? And if I map them back to my base foundation of this taxonomy that I have labeled things as, then I can at least have some kind of prediction on how those discussions will go. This is like almost me, you know how in games, like, I really love what Pathfinder 2nd Edition says, like, hey, you know, make sure this game is helpful for all people, and that, you know, you're talking to your players, you're caring about them, you know, X cards exist, all these things. This is my way of world building that helps those types of situations. So if, now of course I can't plan for everything, right? But as a planner, I like to take that the next level deeper in my world building, where I go, okay, if this doctor wants, you know, this rot doctor wants to be a rot nurse, they can be. And I see them as the same thing. But that's why I mapped out this conversation just to show you as an example. But that's why, like, you can still use that name, rot nurse. You can go the SRN, right? All right. Anyway, I've missed a bunch of messages. Let's go back to chat. Being that a nurse is an assistant to a doctor, right? Yep, exactly. That totally makes sense. That's what Marine said. And then round 2 it says, I had to use my Google Foo to find Galadrius. Galadrius? Galadriel. Oh, no, I don't mean Galadriel. Yes, I know I'm spelling Galadriel wrong. Okay, that's fine. Red, yep. Red even says, you even corrected me. I typed Galadrius and turned it in to Galadriel, and I only fixed the C. Mobile typing is the worst. Yeah, I know. I'm reading chat on a mobile device right now. Frank's Rotners. I put that shit near everything. Oh god. For those of you that didn't get that, Frank's hot sauce is red hot. There you go. It's a joke, and I like it. It's great. Round 2 it says, speaking of Caladrius, I've had a piece in my world building notes about healers that don't actually heal anything. That's interesting. They just take the sickness into themselves and transfer it to prisoners, creating real justice. Whoa. Whoa, that's a deep talk. Putting suffering where it belongs. Don't know if you can use that for anything. Y'all. Same thing, right? Red says, I'm a fan of esoteric, lesser-known critters, so I'm all for a human Caladrius stand in just for integrating the concept. There's a creature for that, and I usually can find out if it exists. Blame the magazine for that. That's great, though. That's cool. Yeah, actually, so let me... Oh, geez, dude. See how fast this board is already growing? Alright, so let's do Myths and Legends. So, Myths and Legends. A legendary person that looks like a plague, like a rot nurse. Plague nurse? Let's see, that's where now I have to bounce between real world and the Sohn Wander world. So I want to say plague nurse for human context, my context. That's cool. Yeah, my Twitch chat's weird right now. Took such a large bite of that banana bread, but it was so good. Alright, so I think that's cool. But let's go back to this. Let's go back to that scarecrow, right? Like, this would be a really cool defense mechanism that it may not necessarily harm them, but it's enough to freak out the rot spawn, which means the rot spawn have instincts of, I guess, almost fear, where they too can get scared. It's like scaring the scared. Oh, hang on. All right. So that's a great rot spawn defense. I think I guess another one because like we have cannons, right? So cannons. You may even have like repeater arrow carts. You could also have now here's something interesting. Which we're talking about chemical warfare, right? What if there was like alchemy motes? Like chemical. So they dig these moats around their towns that are like glowing blue or purple or something, right? Something that's not green, because rot is green in Sohn Wander. So maybe it's like purple, blue, or red. It's another color. And it burns or somehow destroys rot spawn that go near it. Right? Like, that's pretty cool. That would be awesome as well. Round 2 asks, are rot doctors inspired by legends and myths? Part of religious institutions or something else? Or something else? Like the bird shape coming from a campfire story about a 20-foot shadow bird that purges rot. Picturing trash from Narnia. Let me say this. Let me think about this again. So, like the bird shape coming from a campfire story about a 20-foot tall shadow bird that purges rot. That's cool. we're gonna use that now because I think that's awesome. um, oops. Campfire story. So ravens are a big deal, right? That's exactly why I put this in, this familiar. Ravens are, in fact, a symbol to the Telltale. So the one thing that actually Marine and I were talking about this a long time ago, and I am going to put this in, is there's going to be, gosh dang it, I can't, what am I doing? Myths and legends. There's going to be some shapeshifting where you can turn into a werebeast. And instead of the common, like, we're going to still have, like, wolves and other things of that nature, bears, but we're going to have a raven that you can shapeshift into. Because the raven, like, that actually pairs nicely with this campfire story that you just said. That would be so cool. And we could even say this aids the inspiration as to why the masks for rot doctors are shaped the way they are. I love murals so much. This world building board's going to be great. Because now all I'm going to have to do is just hand it off to, like, the team, and if they want to read anything in here, they can. Rot doctors, they will have their own guild. So maybe some of this is linked to here, the Rot Doctors, Myth and Legends. So there are guilds. And it's not just one guild, like many guilds. And the guilds that are formed, you could even form your own if you really wanted to. As a player, as a GM, or however you want to do that, right? This is me giving some more freedom back to other world builders that are like, I want to world build my own Rot Doctor guild. Totally can do that. Same thing with Rot Hunters, right? So, Rot Hunters. Many guilds. Many guilds. Thank you. Many guilds. Alright. And now you can have a collective of a bunch of Rot Doctors in one place, right? Like, this image here shows many. Totally do that. But there's not just one Rot Doctor guild, like in like the Elder Scrolls, where they're like, oh, this is the Mages Guild, or the Fighters Guild. This is like many types of guilds that are created. They just know that Rot Doctors exist, and there are many types of Rot Doctors, and there's many types of teachings. So, many types of Rot Doctor teachings, many types of alchemy. Just depends on which route you want to go down. I'm right now having fun with blood alchemy. Alright then. That's what you want to do. You can do that. How are they funded? Oh, okay. So, a lot of their funding comes from odd jobs. Just like the hunters. Sometimes it can also come from towns. Same with the Rot Hunters. Exact same. This, again, it goes back to the threat that's happening. But the towns, in some cases, they will put those together because they know they need them, right? So if, a mayor is elected, and all 400 people voted, and, Mayor Whitaker von Brunswick is elected, Whitaker will then he'll speak with his, council, and they will bless whatever law comes into play, right? In this, or any funding that shows up. So there's that. But then they can also do odd jobs for other people that are around, like make a potion of sleeping for the town of Apnea. Great, you can do that, you know. Oh, I think I missed this. Some local witch doctor put on a bird mask once, and everyone was all, "Dude, that's badass." Yeah. Look up a pic of Tash, Narnia. I read trash for some reason. I didn't realize you were talking about that. Right. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar in that way. Is how I see it as well. Something definitely more like that. Although I see it a little more intense. So like, ha, like this. There you go. There's your there's your were raven. Um, yep. It's the right thought though. Absolutely. I think that's great. Oh, here you go. Oh, this is a mini. Oh, dang, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, it's cool. I love that. I love that. Cursed Forge miniatures. I'm gonna have to go look them up now. Oh, look at it. Okay, there's too many of the same. Dang, it looks cool. Yeah, this is what I'm seeing though. So it's this monster, like it's running right through like the woods, but it can also fly, which is scary. Um, but this is like the thing that will be told in myth and legend, purging the rot. Ooh, that looks cool too. It's like a raven bear. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Fun times. Alright, cool. So, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but this to me is what I want to play in, like, right now. Myth, legend, rot doctors, rot hunters. Okay, you said about funding. Was there one other thing? Vigilantes. So, you could have some vigilantes. I mean, the thing is that what's super interesting, and this is what something that actually stood out to me. I'm going to talk about Attack on Titan again. Attack on Titan that I thought was so interesting, and they kind of talk about it, right? They're like, even in the walls, there are still people being terrible people. There's the strong versus the weak, right? And this is, I think, Armin talking, I think, is that character. I think that's his name. Let me check his name here. Armin. Yeah. So Armin is talking about that in particular. And when it comes to that, he was like, we're even in the walls, and like there's Titans everywhere. And then Aaron talks about it again, and he's talking with one of the commanders, and he's like, people, who would have thought, or there was an old story about if the world was facing such an apocalyptic situation, that the people would unite and come together and face such terrible things. But even in their time where they are fighting these titans, they still haven't fully united. And that's what's so interesting with that concept, because even in something so terrible as a place as Sohn wander to live, like, I mean, legit, you got these things coming at you, right? Like, constantly. This is not something that you want to be squabbling about with other people, of like food and like basic survival things, you know? Even if it came down to like cash or whatever the case may be, coin, I guess, in this world, that's kind of it almost feels unnecessary at that point. You're like, why am I squabbling with this person over bread? But the reality is that it's kind of true, you know? And that would be a thing here. So vigilantism would be a thing. Like, yeah, absolutely. You'd have people taking stuff in it, or like bounty hunters, right? Bounties, vigilante. You'd have to, because people do, in fact, they would still do that. So rot hunters and rot doctors would show up, and who knows, maybe you have a great rot doctor assassin. And you're like, I need you to take this person out in, like, the next 5 minutes. Well, the rot doctor assassin's going to find a way to do that, because now they're dealing with poisons, right? It's very interesting. Alright. So, wow, there's been so much that we've done. I got another 15 minutes in me. Is there any other concepts that y'all would like to throw at these defenses? So this rot spawn defense, we have Marine came up with this awesome like statue scarecrow thing. We got cannons, we have repeater arrow carts, alchemy, chemical moats, and then we talked a little bit about myths and legends, and we talked about the influences, which is really cool. We talked about the sense of apples and cinnamon. There's muffins in their masks. Muffin. The many different types of, there's types of alchemy, there's types of rot doctor teachings, how they're funded. We've talked about the telltale a little bit. Afraid of buildings and buildings in general. They're afraid of them. There's fear there. We talked about other little fun things like the town of Apnea. And I'll put in here Rot's Point, because this is the main town where the stories will take place, is Rot's Point. We've talked about the Lake of Rot Spawns, or many lakes of Rot Spawns, wandering Sonstar Worm Festivals. We've talked about Purging the Rot. We've talked about Rot Spawn Mimics, of how people in the buildings work, how that works all together with Rot Spawn Mimics. How rot spawn mimics affect things. So there's like, rot spawns that are natural creatures, but the mimics, they can either infect an item or replace that item and just look that way. Talked about like travel distances, how that works. We talked about the cosmology of the world foundational rules. We talked about lunar and solar magic, just briefly. We talked about the Sunstar cycles, the long shadow spawns, and how they evolved into rot spawns, and even weaponry. We talked about all of this. This is incredible. We even talked about populations and like strict checking procedures, which is great. Are there any Jack Doctors we were making related? Chatteroy and Cynthia in them. Crossover. That's where the crossover zaniness is going to come into play. I have a dream where someday I will have that crossover, where you're going to have that zany feel of the Grave Titan in Sohn Wander, and they're gonna see this boy walking around, and he's the deity Jack, and all of these like plague doctors, and in this case rot doctors, like worshipping the guy, and they're gonna be like, "Why do you worship a rot spawn?" Because they're gonna first see that they think they're rot weavers. So we haven't talked about this yet. This is brand new, and I was been writing this essentially for a while now. I've been thinking about it, at least the last few months for sure. So we didn't get to this piece, but if we go back to defenses, we will. It says rot weavers. Their war cries are bone chilling. The first solar crescent drives them into a sharp madness, almost uncontrollable as they've become fully merged with the chosen rot spawn. So this goes back to your parasite thing. Using a form of adulterated solar and lunar magic, corrupting it for their own uses. Most will never make it through the rot weaving process between merging person and rot spawn. But when it is successful, even your darkest nightmares will crawl back into the vile pits in which they came from. Rot weavers have pushed themselves to their absolute limit, biological limits, in order to replicate the look and aesthetics of their deity X, which I have the name somewhere, I just didn't put it in here. Rotweaver Lord. So the religious cultists often try to merge with rot spawns, making themselves become more powerful. And then you have Rotweaver cultists. So this is now where we start. You were asking about like a religious thing, right? So you essentially have this. Oops, I just closed my mural board. Let's open that. Miro, sign in, mural, we're in, Sohn Wander, alright. So, you have Rotweavers. And that's where things get weird, because we were talking about Parasite, right? And Rotweavers, you have rot infections. Rot infections are different. You can become rot infected and die. Right? But, and, not IE, and die. But you can also have rot weavers. Rot weavers merge. Oh, I need to write here. Rot weavers merge themselves with rot spawns. And that's Parasite. That's this. That's what this is. So they can either be mimics, or natural. Meaning they are something more like these. So you could actually see a human who has these claws for hands and like these crazy looking sharp tentacle things coming out of their backs while still wearing like a rot doctor outfit. And that's where rot weavers come into play. Now rot weavers, they aren't good necessarily, because they strongly believe, and by good I'm using the terms of good in this world, good definition. There's always gray areas, right? But in this case, rot weavers, most of the time their motivation is to destroy the weaker, lesser humans. They believe that if they empower themselves with rot spawns, you know, they're going to be better. And to some, you know, truth, they are more powerful, right? But that doesn't mean they can't enact in other ways. Wow, I missed a bunch. Stepped away for a minute, gotta say, were critters also always get a metaphorical upvote from me. One day they'll be properly liberated from their trashy romance novel prisons. Don't get me wrong, I know they pop up every now and then, but I still feel like they need more common, more proper presences. Yeah, I could see that. Were-whales. Were-pigeons, Animorphs in general. When you say were-pigeons, I think of, what was it called? Spies in Disguise. That's it. This movie was great. If y'all haven't seen this movie, y'all need to see this movie. But that's when you just said where pigeon. That's what came up. Use your baby hand. All right. Let's get back to chat here. Heck, even Pixar is giving where red pandas a run. Yeah, interesting times we live in. And D&D is cool. What's up with that? Is Sohn Wander Grave Titan? Yes. So Sohn Wander. Okay. If y'all are curious, because I have not updated this site in months. Grave Titan Games is where you're going to see. There's Jack. That's the crossover that we've been, or the zany adventure. I'm actually drawing this, by the way, so if y'all are interested. But you will see Sohn Wander show up here on GraveTitanGames.com. Grave Titan Games is our subsidiary for Smudgy Games, so yeah, it's all of our dark fiction. This is where it will be held. And with all of this, everything you just saw in here is going to be published out through Grave Titan. So we'll get started on the artwork actually pretty soon. Orbrander. Hello! Welcome. But when they turn into a pigeon, it's a human-sized pigeon. Yeah. Huh. Now I'm thinking of Spies in Disguise eating trash scene. Oh god. Y'all need to see the movie. It's great. Eating garbage, maybe? Would that come up with a better... It's a gif. It tastes amazing! Here you go. It tastes amazing! Oh, yeah. A human-sized pigeon eating garbage. I can't right now. Hi! I love you too. Dude, so many awesome people have come out today. Wow. Maybe I just need to start streaming on Saturdays or something. Goodness. Y'all really, for real, y'all have made my day. Everyone who has come out today and said hi. I've been in such a weird funk. So, I don't know. I'm just very happy right now. Another word in this, though, would be true happiness. I feel joy. So, that's great. Thank you. That would be sick if you made this a regular thing. Yeah, well, and the fact that I have Mural now, like, this tool actually exists, because this tool only came out, like, a couple of years ago, not even that. And I know the people who make this, and who started all this stuff in Luma, so I really enjoy what they've put together. And as you guys can see, I've been like whipping around, right? On like, oh man, look over here and over here. And like I've been able to just get all of my thoughts and all of this world building on this board. You know, even down to like basic things like taxonomy, like just talking about like mapping those journeys on how language will work through that experience, like of how they discuss things is so cool. Like even this mood board. Now I have this mood board put together and be like, here you go, this is what I want, artists, help me. And then write out like actual briefs. But then we like got into details of like, you know, weighing stations for vehicles before they reach major population centers, or how like, you know, saliva dripping down with walls or whatever, or here myths and legends, how does this representation form, you know, it's just so great. I just love all of this. It's so cool. Oh. And if you, Maureen says, and if you ever want a co-commentator or someone to help track or chat for you, I would totally be down to join you sometime. Yeah, absolutely. And I know I keep on saying that. I just need a plan for that type of thing, because whenever I'm in this headspace of world building, what ends up happening is I feel like I'm sitting in that world right now. So I forgot what it's called, but I have that thing where everything around me, except for this screen, becomes very real. Like I can see it. And you know, if someone like it's taken me a long time to differentiate the two as well. You know, from when I was younger, and knowing like the difference between reality and my imagination sometimes, right? And being able to pull myself in and out, that context switching. So I need to prepare myself mentally in order to do those things. And like I have to have a set structure so then I can share it with other people that I'm speaking with, like co-commenting. Um, but I will need to do that at some point, yeah, because it's fun and I enjoy those things so much. So you're right, Marine, we do need to do that sometime. Um, oh, instead of using a Google Doc, you're right. Yeah, like the Google Doc is great. I enjoy it, but like, see, this is set up right now to hand off to someone like me who does layout design, and oh, which by the way, I don't know if have I shown y'all this? Let me show you this. Let me take a bite of my banana bread and let me show y'all this here while I'm scrolling. Yeah. Oh, is it? Where is it? It's in here then. Yeah. All right. So I started working on the layout for Naltulth already, and um, I have to update the cover. I have to get our names on here, but I've already started. And I've shown y'all some of this, but I haven't shown a lot of it. So I do layout design, by the way. So for anyone who's interested in that as well, if like I don't, how do I want to say this? I don't regularly offer this as a service, just so y'all know. Like professionally, I am a designer. I do UX work, but with UX falls many different types of design. Because I can do CX, I can do visual, I can do UI, I can do anything when it comes to design. Even game design, right? Heck, I can even do industrial design. So I can actually, I could technically work with a bridge architect, like a bridge architect and engineer, and then I could actually design the parts for them to make. Just to give you all an idea, like that's how deep it goes for me. So I can do a lot of different things. But I do layout as well, and I just wanted to show y'all that I've been actually working here on the Naltulth piece of this. So there's a lot of, you'll notice a lot of new art pieces in here too. So like this is the Nice Spear insignia, you have the Blight Shadow insignia, you have the Dark Spire insignia, you have Dark Spire kind of floating over Naltulth, like creating the continent and their things. You still have other art pieces missing, but I started laying all this out, and there's still a lot that needs to be added in. Like we still need to add in the other heritage, and we have a whole. I need to add in the whole thing of the Anatarak in here, ancestry wise. So I've already started laying out, and there's actually some editing in here I need to do from some of the updates that Marine made to the book. But yeah, going through all of this layout, and I need to actually make some icons. Like you got Z's in here. Zzz. I got the Blight Shadow Skullkeeper in here. There's an iconography needs to be made. Got Tantula. I haven't even put the Icy Lock in here yet. You got the Mortis Monarchs. They're in here. The Trellgwyn, Chirpgower, and then like kind of ends. There's like so much more I need to add, but I do the layout, but that's why like instead of world building in this Google Doc, which is great, it helps, but it doesn't do this, right? Like I'm not able to put my notes and thoughts down, and then I can pull all of this and then pop it into here and then formally write it, which is great. I miss so much. Red says it's been fun being here. I'm glad my jokes are still subtly influencing smunchy things. I unintentionally got Adam to change a Frey card over a joke I made when we were playtesting it. That's great. Foresight reveals 3 cards. Shouldn't it reveal 4? That's good. Actually, yeah. That's pretty great. Grabs Frey deck. 4 cards. Oh, hey, it says Pieo. Yeah, like I said, Pieo's he's done so much for us. He's such a great artist in person. He did a lot of the Frey artwork. Um, in fact, I think he did most of it, at least for the core set. I think the Journey to the Tasserdan Trail, he did. What did he do? He did the Senzai, and then we had 3 other artists that we hired on that did the Firecrest Elves and the Uwakun, which were really cool. They were awesome to see as well. Told you I'm trash at that game though. I got trounced every time. That's okay. You know, there was a guy who posted on Twitter the other day that was saying that he took Frey. I guess they're starting to get colder weather now. Took Frey and his kids somewhere for. They just took a bunch of pocket games and they just played Frey like for half the time they were there. I've seen people use it to bet on who buys ice cream, who makes dinner, who does a chore. I don't know. It's such a fun little game. Adam did such a spectacular job on it. We still have a bunch for sale, by the way, too, if y'all actually want to buy the game, who have not bought the game or even know about the game. Yes, this is a plug. But if you are interested, you can get Frey at the store here, right here. It's $12.99. Doesn't include shipping. So shipping will be added on it. I have a bunch of Frey decks behind me right now. I think I have like 30 of them, just on stock. So if y'all are interested, SmudgyGames.shop. Oh, I need to remove that. Oof. That should not be there, and that should not be there. I need to update the entire shop site. But I'm gonna give it this to y'all, in case y'all want to check that out. I just realized that, gosh dang it, I'm still watching myself as Smudgeables. Oh well. Smudgeables, by the way, see, I keep on getting into these things. Smudgeables is actually something I do with my kids. It's our family game stream. So we'll play Pokemon Unite together and do all those other fun things too, which is totally not this. It's not dark fiction. But yeah, my son is showing interest. So in time, I'm certain, my oldest son anyway, he's showing interest. He'll probably end up joining me someday when he gets a little older in here. But and you know what, to be fair, Red, I am not good at Frey. I'm just not good at it. I get my butt kicked by my kids all the time in Frey, and I get my butt kicked by my wife all the time in Frey. Like, it's weird. I used to be a great card game player, especially with like Pokemon, right, with those decks. And I was okay at Magic the Gathering, but like Pokemon was my jam. I loved Pokemon. But outside of Pokemon, I just suck. In general, like with card games, I'm like, what were we playing? We were even playing Phase 10. I think that's the name of the game. I just get my butt kicked every time. Phase 10. It's like Ray. She's like, 3 phases ahead of me, and she's like, "Oh, got another one." And I'm like, "Gosh, dang it!" I just want to like throw everything. But see, I guess we all have our special things because I'm really good at like first-person shooters and like MMORPGs, all that. Tabletop-wise, I'm really good at wargamings. So like Warhammer, that's my bag. I think I've only ever lost about 10 games of Warhammer in the last 20 years that I've played. So that's where that gets interesting too. Maybe that's just my tactician side, which is weird because I can't. It's strategy, but it's a different type of strategy, right? Like Frey's strategy is so different. That was me with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is what Red says. Yeah, that makes sense. I was very terrible at Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to be good with that. I haven't been good with any other fantasy-based card games. Makes sense, yeah. So I guess, what time is it? 4:38. I'm gonna do some plugs here, if y'all are interested still, before we go. Naltulth is coming up. So, if you do play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and you are interested in Pathfinder 2nd Edition content that's compatible, you should definitely check out Naltulth. This is our upcoming Kickstarter. It launches October 5th, which is in about a week and a half, literally. That's really cool. There are many things that you can do with this content. Let me go back to smunchygames.com, and here you can read all about it. You can read all about Naltulth and kind of the introduction. Of course, not everything is in here right now because clearly there'll be more on the Kickstarter. You'll get to find out all those cool little neat things. This just kind of shows you some of the creatures that are going to be in there that you can fight or that you can tame. Kind of some of the locations, such as Candlehurst and Bitterfall, as well as some of the heritages that you can play as. So the Gravehand Kobold, Darkmeld Goblin, a Blind Strike Orc, and there's others, and Ancestries too. Also, here with Naltulth, just kind of what the book is going to look like overall. Kind of got this nice little intro going there. But you can also go to the Kickstarter here and get notified for when we launch. We actually have 138 people already that have signed up. They are ready to get notified when we launch. And the cool thing about Naltulth here is there are... Oh, I need to put the archetypes on here too. So there is a new archetype as well called the Crypt Knight. Again, I'll show that one more time. So we do have the Crypt Knight. This is, for those of you who don't know what an archetype is, an archetype can be added to a class. So you can take, and Marine, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can take pretty much any class and add an archetype to it. Might be wrong, but that's my understanding. In this case, Crypt Knights, they're all about undeath, of course. They're kind of like Death Knights. The only difference is, well, actually it's a major difference. Plants can also kind of become undead. So there's a lot of plant life as well. Trees, flowers, mushrooms, you name it. So there's the archetype, and then we are also adding, the Anautarok. So the Anautarok are being updated. They're going into Naltulth. And then, I don't think I have, and y'all should follow us at Smunchy Games on Twitter too, or on Facebook or wherever else that you can find all of that, find us. But I'm trying to show y'all, where are they? Here they are. We do have a stretch goal as well, so the Anautarok are going to be a stretch goal as far as an ancestry getting added, but this heritage in particular, they're a cat folk, they are a stretch goal, they are locked, they will not be in the book if we don't reach the stretch goal when that happens. So if you really like the Grimclaw, you should definitely spread the word so we can get things funded and moving for Naltulth. With that said, I am the archetype is not a stretch goal. So the archetype, I think it is a stretch goal. Now that I think about it, I don't want to misspeak here. I'm pretty sure it might be a stretch goal. So the archetype either may or may not be in there. I'll have to go look. But letting you know it's there. And then I'll double check on that, just so I can give you all the right information. But then we also have another ancestry and heritage that I will be adding. And I actually, so Marine, if Marine's still in here, I did tag him in it. We're going to be working on it. And it is, I don't know if I'm going to lock it or not. I don't know if I'm going to release it in the next one, so I'm kind of giving y'all some insider information on our side for third party. We are, in fact, creating a bovine ancestry, and they are called the Bovedira for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And I was really surprised that Pathfinder doesn't exactly have a bovine ancestry, which was new to me. For those of you who like things like Minotaur or Tauren, you know, it would make sense. I know my wife is a huge fan. I love Minotaurs and Tauren too. So we are going to be creating the Bovedira, and you'll see them later on. And we are also creating something, I believe we've called them the Ovabos. They are a heritage specifically of Bovadira for Naltulth. And the Ovabos, they are essentially musk ox heritage for the Bovadira. So if you want to play as one, that will be another thing that you can find in Naltulth. Werecows, yeah, basically. Well, except for the fact that they're anthropomorphic. They don't shift into humans. They are that. But as you all know, I really love. So two things about me. One, I have a Norse Scales heritage in real life. So I have a lot of that culture and type of life in my blood. But I'm also just a huge fan of it in general. So you're essentially getting Viking cows. That's more or less what this is. Just to be honest with y'all, that's where we're going with this. And if y'all like that, that'll be a thing. So, yeah, go get notified for Naltulth. Another insider thing that I'm going to let y'all know is that Naltulth Candlehurst, because this is a subtitle, Candlehurst, this will be our first book. There are going to be other books as well. And there's going to be like small micro content. So we kind of like how Pathfinder today, Paizo, they release like I think it's called the Thaumaturge, I suck at this. No, Paizo. Where is it? I had a play test on it. There it is. This thing. Thaumaturge. So how they play test those things like micro content and people get access. We'll be releasing micro content as well for Naltulth. So expect that to happen. That'll be a thing in time. So whatever doesn't make it into a stretch goal for Candlehurst, you will get to see it later on at some point down the road. You just won't get it right away. That's the unfortunate truth. So that's why the stretch goals are going to be really important for Naltulth. Just because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work on my side, just to be honest with y'all, because I have to write a lot of the lore. And then it's a lot of work on Marine's side, because Marine has to put those mechanics in, and then we do some play tests with it, and just theory crafting. Overall, a lot of discussion, a lot of thought too put into it. And whenever it comes to ancestries, heritages, and archetypes, right? We haven't even really tackled a full-on class, but just knowing that those three things right now take up so much time to make. But we want to do all these things too. So if those are the things you're interested in, then yes, please back us and support us, so we can give you more cool things like Naltulth, or in some cases like Sohn Wander, right? That we just talked about today. And of course, naturally, we appreciate that. So it allows us to even take your feedback. Like here, we did a poll. If you follow us on @SmunchyGames on Twitter. We actually took a poll asking if people wanted this as a class or an archetype, and surprisingly enough, we actually expected people wanting this as a class, but the majority wanted an archetype, which is really cool. And what we did is we're going to do something a little different than most archetypes, where with one archetype, typically they take up maybe half a page or a page in a book, right? For what we're doing with the Crypt Knight, we're going to take up 2 full pages, if not more, for just this one archetype. So you're going to get a crap ton of content just for this one thing, and we're going to add on to it later on. Because the Crypt Knight is, in fact, one of the primary archetypes of Naltulth. Crypt Knights are common. They're very... It's just what they are. They're part of that. Marine says, Thaumaturgy is one of my favorite kinds of magic. Yes, me too. They basically master the aspects of creation, breaking down creation into its primal energies and manipulating them to alter the properties of creation. Love it. I'm really excited to see how they make it. Yeah, me too. A lot of people are enjoying it. I can tell you that right now. So, but yeah, so this is what we're doing, y'all. On that note, there's some more parceling stuff coming up. I just had a brain blank. So for parcelings, I'll give a quick update on that. Parcelings is in fact all of, I think, North America, Canada, US, Mexico. All of North America has been shipped, and people should have received all their stuff. So all backers in North America, you should have already received your goods. Parcelings, decks, books, pins if you were a VP backer. Stickers are coming soon, because there are some things that were misprinted and I still feel horrible about. But they're going out soon, but we want to make sure they can also match, some of them match the international that we're doing. So that's coming up next. Unfortunately, COVID has delayed it again. So all of these surges, the COVID variants, have made this very hard for us to keep a regular shipping schedule. But I do appreciate everyone who has given us some grace, because these are just things out of our control. I wish we could control it, but, you know, that's the sad state of it. Now, with that said, though, we're just glad that we got it shipped out earlier to North America and at least somewhat on time here for international. I'm marking that as a win. Where others, they're having to wait months, if not years, to ship out. So that's a thing. And then the one that I'm also super excited about is Path's World of Adia. So if you were someone who has been following us for literally ever, Path's World of Adia is coming back to Kickstarter Q4 of 2022. It's going to happen. We are going to have 3 books. Core rule book that you're looking at now, a Paths book, and a spell book. Because there's so much content. There's just so much. In fact, it's to a point now where by the time we hit this Kickstarter, we're probably going to include Trade Trouble, the one shot, and I may even be able to include a micro setting for you later on as well, called Cradenton. So Cradenton is going to be one of the towns in Adia. We even have artwork getting worked on right now for Cradenton. So that's pretty great. So this is coming. Yeah, y'all have been seeing this stuff forever, so it's probably why some of y'all are here. is because of this. So, and then Sohn Wander, what we did today. Oh, you know what? I'll end on that. So Sohn Wander, again. So this will be the last plug. There's too much. Sohn Wander is going to be a dark fiction setting that we will be publishing. I don't know which system. I would like to put this on Titanforge, but I have had so many requests for this to go on something like 5e or Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Or do all 3. I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to be taking some votes on this in the near future. So if you feel that you would buy this on 5e, on Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and or something like Titanforge or another third-party system that I don't know about, please let me know. You know, these are things that we all talk about. And then I've even had other people that are like, hey, just make it OSR. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So like that OSR take where it's not really a system, it's like system agnostic, right? And I'm just like, if you use this creature, their armor is higher. right? And that allows the GM to translate it the way they want to. So I don't know. I need help with this one. This one's hard because now that we're like neck deep in the industry finally, it's hard to see who is playing what nowadays. Granted, 5e has been king, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of good options out there. So I'm just trying to understand how we should approach this. Because this will be published through Grave Titan Games, our dark fiction subsidiary, and it's going to be mostly drawn by this person, Jonathan. So for those of you who don't know who Jonathan Elliott is, Jonathan, he's actually a very well-known artist. He did a lot of the branding for the Darkest Dungeon. If you all know the video game Darkest Dungeon, that's him. That's Jonathan. He did the logo here. He does all their promo work. So this is for The Color of Madness. This is a great piece that Jonathan did. I really love it. I mean, he's done so many other things. Like, I know he does work with the Dream Realm Storytellers. Those are a great group of people too. They mostly, yeah, this one right here. Wait, no, is it this one? That's not it. It's this one. I was close. I just misclicked. Yeah, there it is. They do Dream Realm. They do a lot of 5e work, so a lot of 5th edition D&D, and you know, he kills it every time too. Which they're another big name, Dream Realm. They're really good at what they do for 5e. But yeah, so Darkest Dungeon is what Jonathan is known for the most. But you may have even seen a concept like this. This is actually a really popular art piece. I've seen this in so many places too. But this is Jonathan's work, and he will be doing Sohn Wander. So the things you see in Sohn Wander that we just talked about, Jonathan's gonna make. Pretty exciting. Some of these are really cool too. That's wicked. Wowzer. Wow, dude, that's crazy looking. Look at that thing. Wow, that's very dark. So yeah, anywho's in. That's what we got going on. Let's see here. Red says JRPG. That's my system of choice, preferably SNES, 16-bit era. Gotcha. That makes sense. But yeah, so I'll be putting out votes. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious as what people want to play Sohn Wander on. And even if you don't play it and you just want to read it for world building, or lore, or even just an art collection, that's fine too. Those are things I'd like to know personally, if that's something that interests you. Because what's going to end up happening is between Sohn Wander and Iferon, which I haven't talked a lot about Iferon lately, but that's Jake's world, which is going to be 5e. So, and that's something very different than this, but similar because it's still dark fiction or grimdark. So, let me know. Other than that, I mean, that's what I got, folks. Thank y'all for coming out. Again, follow us here on Twitch. We actually gained some followers today. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Smunchy Games. Follow us on Instagram at Smunchy Games. Follow us on Facebook on Smunchy Games. Grave Titan Games too. At Grave Titan Games is on Twitter, so I'm gonna actually plug that because we want more followers there. If you are into dark fiction, you are on Twitter, please follow us on Grave Titan. For real. I'm gonna put that in here for y'all. Just to make it easy. You'll see a bunch of, like, I'm drawing my own stuff too, like Wither End Dungeons. This is my artwork. I've had a lot of fun with it. So we'll be putting that out as well. Just because it's been a blast, so. Anyway, and we do have an Instagram as well. Instagram at Grave Titan Games. So, alright. Yeah, I'll do this again at some point. I don't know when, but hopefully sooner rather than later. Uh, I love y'all. Thank you for making my day today. For everyone who came out, there were so many of you. There's some of you even in chat, I'm sure, that didn't say anything, and I'm still so appreciative of you being here. Yeah, thank you. Let's see, what time is it? 5 o'clock. Wow, I've been streaming for like 4 hours. Cool. Alrighty, well, I don't know. I will try and find a way to get a more regular schedule going now that I'm getting better sleep and that I have some more time that I've cleared off. So, find a way to do that and make that happen. Okay? Don't forget, Now Tilt's coming up October 5th. Mark your calendars. I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.